lying on the road, a barricade where there'd been a battle but no bodies, a Soviet seemingly supply convoy abandoned, various dead people inside in states of decay who clearly hadn't died of radiation. All of this together, you determined that there may be some kind of chemical or biological agent at play, and decided to fall back, skirting the city, or the town or village of Crespis, back towards your positions in Prazka, and then were seeking to alert the people there that you would require isolation and quarantine for a while before you plan your next move. Seeking to skirt around the town to the south, your M113 through a track became bogged down, and your lieutenant from Remy has been unable to fix the vehicle swiftly. It's certainly take until at least morning. There's a discussion amongst the group that maybe some people who could continue to move on foot should press ahead to Praska, and it was agreed that Gavriel and Rostigam would do that. But it was a lie. Gavriel and Rostigam have not gone on straight to Praska, although they may plan on heading there eventually. They've instead taken a detour to scout out the suspicious findings and suspicious activity around Crespis. Through their observation, they've been able to find strange lights that indicate that perhaps more of the buildings are occupied than the dozen or so who you've already seen, and they appear to be using blackout curtains, which caused some curiosity. Seeking to learn more, the duo have advanced closer and unexpectedly found themselves quite near a dug-in position, similar to a sniper blind, but this one is on the southern edge of the village, with its back to the village, or southwestern edge of the village, and it is much, much closer to it, suggesting that it's perhaps part of the village's own defences. And so, our focus is drawn to this duo lying on their bellies in the open field, in the moonlight, very few clouds in the sky, as Rostogram sees the emplacement. What does the doctor do?
So, is Gabriel like ahead of Rostergam, or is he further behind her? Because I know that I don't think he saw any of this.
No, Gavriel would be kind of parallel to uh, Rostergam, basically. Maybe like a few feet ahead, but not much, just enough to where, like, if he steps on something like a tripwire or something, it only affects him. But for the most part, we're probably parallel. He's probably, like, I would say no more than 15 feet away. And we could just say, for the sake of argument, he's to the left of Rostergram. And so yeah, he's that's kind of what I had in mind as I was, typing up the text role play.
So it sounds like then, okay, so then she'll whisper, "Wait," and hope that he hears it. She does not want to move to, like, possibly catch any attention.
Yeah, so he's moving probably, like, I would say, like, he's aiming for stealth more than anything. So he's probably taking, like, a step and then stopping and listening and then another step. So he'd most likely hear you, as long as you're not, super light spoken. He'd probably at least hear something and stop and look in your direction and make sure that he's, like, crouched further towards the grass.
You know that you're 80 meters away.
He's probably taking, like,
from this position that you spotted, with a trace of movement inside it that suggests there's someone or something inside. As a result of which, you're fairly confident that you can speak for a short time in low whispers without being overheard, but you wouldn't want to press your luck.
Alright, I out of character don't know the correct slang for this, but in character. We've got... I think she's gonna say it's a sentry. Here's a sentry.
Like a sentry post?
Something like that.
Okay. So as long as you like generally give him a direction to look at, he'll look in that general direction. Does he see anything as of yet? As of this
Now
point?
that it's been pointed out and your attention is focused on it, after around about 10 seconds of staring intently, you'll see the same tiny shift of movement that the doctor did. And then once you've seen that, your brain sort of fills in the rest of the box around it, and suddenly it becomes clear to you that yes, there is a position there, that it's dug in, there's a firing slit, and it's definitely one of those things where if this is ground level, actually I have to put it down. If this is ground level, that's the roof. So whatever it is, most of it's underground, and it's just the firing slit that's above ground.
Yeah. So whatever it is, it's been there for a while.
Yeah, this was
it
not
takes a while to dig
easy
that.
or quick to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're not just like under some bushes and leaves. It's basically
No, and thank you for mentioning the bushes and leaves. You can tell that A, they've had time, and B, whoever did this knew what they were doing because they've used bushes and leaves to try and further conceal it.
okay. And just like I said before, it's facing south, so most likely, at least originally, if not being used now by Russians, it's at least originally probably Russian. Would that be a? Because I think the original one was Russian, wasn't it?
No, you couldn't tell what the original one was, but it did have a piece of Soviet equipment in it.
But Polish could use it as well.
Exactly. All you can really tell from its position is whoever built this was seeking to defend the village.
Right.
You don't know who would be defending the village, though.
Right. Well, that's the question, though. I mean, now this is all going like in Gabriel's head for like a second. Is like if this was Russians, then they would be defending the village only if the village was already taken over. If this was the Polish trying to defend the village, they should be facing the opposite direction. But even if, I mean, they could still use it, obviously, just in case, but you would want to have more people around the north if you're worried about the Russians. So once he gets really low, and you said that at this point, if she can see, if Rostergrams can see into the slit, then they have already seen her, right?
They can, as in they are close enough to be able to spot you with a roll. Like if you move, it's not automatic. They roll.
Okay. In that case, then, because I mean, I'm assuming Gabriel would know this, but he's and a lot of this is theater of the mind, so let me know if this doesn't make any sense. But he just wants both of them, Gabriel and Rostergam, to just not move, stay as low as they possibly can, and then just watch for any more movement or sounds for like 30 seconds and see what they hear or see. And there's hand movements to do that.
Yeah. Other than the trace that you've already picked up, you see and hear nothing further.
Okay, so we just know someone's in there. We just don't see or hear them further, essentially.
Yeah, you don't see. You might see again like a teeny weeny shift of movement.
Right.
Whoever or whatever is in there isn't trying to be as super stealthy as you, and you don't detect like another person coming, another position, another sign. It's just the thing you've already spotted is continuing to do what it was already doing.
Are we both equally in front of it? Like if it sees her, then it definitely sees me, or is one of us kind of to the side where we could get around?
Yeah.
it?
So, because you're about 80 meters in front of it, imagine this is its firing arc. If it is indeed a firing position, you're like there. You're both comfortably in it.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, I'll do the sign for stay put, and then I'm going to shift ever so slightly, like a foot and a half to the left, and see what happens.
Okay. That's it's such a tiny piece of movement. I'm not going to make you roll for that. When you move that little bit off to the side, nothing further happens.
Okay. Gabriel has a theory, or maybe the player has. I have a theory, and I don't know if Gabriel would necessarily have the same theory, but I'm going to now try to shift a little bit more to the left, but be intentionally a little bit louder. But not enough to where...
Okay.
Like, basically just enough to where if somebody's listening intently, they will hear it, but if someone's in there having a chat or playing cards, they wouldn't.
Okay, yeah. I will make you roll for that, and it will be an opposed roll, and I'll roll fresh. So I'll do their roll first, and you get to know the difficulty, essentially, or how many successes you need, and then you can choose whether or not to push.
Will I be rolling mobility or recon? Because it is agility.
Recon.
Okay.
Because recon is the stealthy thing, and you're attempting not to be seen. You're still attempting to do a stealth thing.
Okay.
Okay. All right. They achieved 1 success on their spot roll, so you need to get 2 or more to remain undetected.
Okay.
Oh,
I have
you are undetected.
You said I am
So, yeah,
detected,
you
or I'm not detected?
You are undetected.
Okay.
You succeed. You're able to move a little further off, generate a little bit more noise, but there's no sudden sort of or attention drawn to you.
In that case, I don't know if my theory is worth. I know for sure it's not worth risking her life, so I'm gonna just gesture, assuming we're still in visible range, for her to back up away from it. I'm not really worried about her making noise. I'm more worried about if there is somebody inside looking out and seeing her. So I'm just gonna like gesture her for her to get back a little bit and out of the firing arc as much as possible, but still stay low enough to where if they did open fire, there's less of a chance of her being hit.
Absolutely. Rostergram. Oh well, Doctor, is this something that you're going to do, or do you have another plan?
She's just doing exactly what he's telling her.
Okay.
Fair enough. And I'm assuming you're going to eventually be retreating as a group.
Actually, once she is sufficiently. So, is this a field or is this still trees and stuff everywhere?
Oh, you're in a you're in a field. You're like in a field that cows would graze in. It's not tall crops or anything like that.
Right. So it's basically. So in order for her to get to any kind of cover or concealment, she'd have to go pretty far back, basically.
That's correct, but you are aware that light conditions are her best cover, more than physical concealment.
Now, I'm not a sniper in real life, but I mean, I know what binoculars are, so I would think that even if you had binoculars, night vision, etc., because night vision is a thing, I want her to get to as far as she can without, because I mean, clearly she hasn't been seen yet, or if she has, they're not considering her a threat. So I want her to just get far enough away to where if they do open fire, it's not like an instant death, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
And then once she does that, I want to try to go around the side at a low crouch, go around, basically find the entrance.
You know that the distance roughly for unassisted sight in these light conditions is about 100 meters. So once the Doctor's gotten 100 meters, and she's already 100 meters away from the placement, unless they've got some kind of assistive technology, the chances of her being accurately fired upon are very slim.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I still want to go slow, quiet, but I'm looking for an entrance. I'm going around it, and if I get out of the firing line without being seen or being fired at or anything like that, at that point, if I notice a door, it's all about speed. Stealth is out of the window.
Absolutely. Okay, since you're doing 2 very different things, I'm not going to be treating this as a group stealth roll. It'll be individual stealth rolls. So we'll start with Dr. Rostogram's attempt to retreat. Kriebel, please give me a flat, unmodified recon roll. The difficulty is I say difficulty, too much Star Trek. You've got to get at least 2 successes because they got 1 success in their effort to spot you.
Oh.
Right. So this is what occurs. Oh, actually, before I say anything, do you wish to attempt to push that roll?
No.
Okay. So the sergeant begins moving off round to the side very, very slowly, and the Doctor starts calming back. And after she's crawled about 10 meters, slithering on her belly, the sergeant will hear a little sort of like flurry of activity, not gunfire, flurry of activity in the position, and then muttering in a language that you recognize as Polish, but you don't understand it. And yeah, that's what happens. We're now into things are going by the second. So
Right.
what relatively short action would you want to take now that that has occurred?
So I'm at that point. I'm still moving stealthily. So as soon as I hear the commotion inside, do I see a door or entrance or anything, or am I still too
You do
far?
not.
Okay. In that case, oh, excuse me. I'm assuming I'm still by the firing slit.
Yeah, you haven't. It's not been long enough for you to get out of the arc yet.
And I'm not close enough for a 45 to do much good. But I'm gonna keep it trained on it, and I'm going to run backwards. So we're in a field, so I shouldn't trip over anything. And to try to get out of range like she is. But I want to keep the weapon on that slot until I see or hear something else other than just activity.
Since you've gotten up and are just running, stealth is broken.
Yep.
You're like more obvious to spot. So a few more seconds will pass, and then you start hearing very angry shouting. Well, not very angry, very loud shouting coming from this position. And neither of you speak Polish, but the universal tone, particularly from context, of halt or identify yourself and halt is easily understandable in any language, as this position is yelling at you to basically stop.
So this is once again theater of the mind. Assuming they have the best sniper rifle ever, and considering my distance from the slit at this point, I probably actually should have ran around the side instead of running away, but whatever. Do I think that I could make it to the same distance she is before they open fire, or do I think I have to stop or they're going to hit me?
You think it's going to be down to the wire. It's close. You might be able
it's
to
going to be a dice roll. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's going to be a dice roll,
Okay.
and it'll be a stamina roll.
Ooh, what do I have?
Or a
for that?
Mobility. Stamina or mobility, your choice. Stamina or mobility.
Stamina, yeah, they're both the same. Well, agility's A, so I'll probably use that. Yeah, I'm gonna go for the dead out sprint. Like, I'm not even pointing my weapon back anymore. I'm just sprinting, and I'm gonna try to get as close to her position as possible. Now, theoretically, I mean, they're Polish, so great. But theoretically, I could just be like, hey, I'm an American, blah, blah, blah. But something tells me that these villagers aren't particularly discerning about who they protect their village from. You know, if they see Americans trying to infiltrate, they might just open fire anyway. So I'm just, like I said, dead sprint towards as close as Roster. I mean, I might not be able to get to Rostergrim, but I want to get as close as I possibly can.
Yep. Give me that roll, flat, unmodified, and then we'll come to the doctor in a moment. Okay, that's a success. You'll be able to do it. Doctor, you have been angrily yelled at in Polish, and the sergeant has gotten up and just started sprinting. What do you do?
Run!
Well, I know what I would do, but Rostergam, on the other hand, I think she might try to keep going back just a little bit more.
Okay, running or crawling?
Still crawling. Even if they
still
spotted her, she's... I don't know.
Fantastic.
Doesn't want them to see that, I don't know. She's carrying a rifle, so she probably doesn't want them to go like, oh, she's armed too, so that's even worse.
Yeah, silhouette with a gun, bang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you keep crawling, Gabrielle's running. There's more angry yelling in Polish, at which point two things happen. Number one, you hear a
Flare.
noise. And you see in the background a trail of embers go up into the sky from somewhere inside the village, and poof, illumination flare. The field is drenched in light. The shadows are jumping around as it flickers and burns, and it starts very slowly descending in the sky. It's going to be up there for a bit. You might as well have a searchlight trained on you. You are very easily visible. Second thing that will happen is from the firing position that you previously spotted, there is a brief burst of automatic fire. It lands well in front of you. It was never going to hit you. And there is more yelling at you in Polish, so you don't know exactly what it says, but you can pick up from context. It's a kind of like a stop thing. You also start hearing the sounds of more movement coming from deeper inside the village. People running around, yelling, people going to posts. What do you do?
And Gabriel just
I'm
kept
still running.
right?
Yep.
He's being smart.
Still running.
I'm running right towards you.
Okay, not being that smart then, okay. Maybe, well, okay. Never
He
mind.
cares too damn much.
Doesn't leave people behind. That makes sense for him. Oh, doesn't like the I don't know. They've already spotted her. She's out of firing range at least, so she'll get up and start running.
She'll get up and start running. I should point out that that firing range was based on visibility. You are now lit up.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
While I'm running,
Well,
can I do something? And this is purely narrative based.
Of course.
Army jackets. I mean, even this one, they all have patches all over them. I want to take my American patch off, drop it, and keep running.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
Because I don't want
So-
them thinking that we're Russians when they come after us. If they're the type of people that are like, okay, they're UN, they're American, okay, we'll give them a pass. If they're the kind of people that don't care, then it won't matter. But if they're more worried about Russians, I want them to at least find that. But yeah, I want to keep running.
Really. So you keep running. There continues to be more yelling. And then there is another burst of automatic fire. Gavriel. I'm just going to do a little roll here. Dun.
Let me guess, mobility? Or
No.
yeah, uh-oh. Stamina.
Hey, all right, Gavriel. You are running along. Dum, dum, dum. There's a burst of automatic fire from behind you, and you feel a searing pain in your leg as you are hit.
Oh no, what's the round?
It's a bit difficult to tell since it's in you, but it's
Yeah,
definitely
you're right.
a rifle.
Sorry, I was doing it for the player benefit. I shouldn't have even asked that. I wouldn't know that. All right.
You can guess from the range that it's probably a rifle.
Yeah.
Maybe a submachine gun. Probably
I was just hoping it wasn't like a 50 cal or something. Oh yeah, my leg is gone now, as well as half of my torso.
Yeah, the leg is still there.
Yeah.
You haven't suffered a crit. Please mark 2 points of damage on your
Okay.
character sheet as a round tears through the muscle of leg, but doesn't do any like, major damage to an artery or a bone or anything like that.
Okay.
And you can see illuminated by the illumination flare, the shadows of more people appearing in and around the firing position. These people aren't in it; they're standing in the terrain. Some of them are running, some of them are kneeling, and they're a little further behind, but they're also yelling at you and occasionally pointing rifles in your direction.
Is
The other group in a moment, but what are your two actions, both of you?
Rostergram and Gavriel, are we like parallel now? Are we together? Are we still like, how
You're
far?
probably past her.
Okay, I've
You're
run
probably
past
her, but
Okay.
not very far.
In that case, so you said it's a flesh wound, or did it like go in and stay? Did it go in and come out the other side?
Oh, it's a through and through flesh wound.
Okay. Well, running is pretty much out of the question then. So I'm gonna just get to. Are we still in the field, or are we getting to the tree line?
You are still in the field. The tree line is quite some distance away. You might be able to get there. The difficulty is who'll be faster, you or the people chasing you, is the main question.
Well, the good thing is we have a head start. I don't know how much of a head start, but the bad news is I'm shot. So, okay, again with the
Mechanically,
whole
you're fine. It's not a crit.
yeah,
But yeah.
with the metagame knowledge or theater of the mind, whatever you call it. Do I think that the tree line, if I was healthy, I could get to it before they got to me, or do I think that again it's going to be 50-50?
You think it would be a roll. You think it would be
Okay.
a contested roll. And that is, how to phrase it, you know that you are already in the range of weapons, although maybe not accurate fire. You're outside easy range. But in terms of them actually physically getting to you, it would be a contested roll. They would be at a minus. What about you, Rostergram? What are your thoughts on what you want to do now that you have seen Gavriel be hit in the leg and rounds have whizzed over your head and people continue to yell at you in Polish?
despite A, not wanting to be shot, and B, that we've already been discovered, she can't. She's still going like, we still don't know if we have an infection. So even if like we can't let these villagers come near us if we're infected, which is again, well, I don't know. She's like, how did I even let him talk me into this? But, but you know, she'll probably. I mean, if he's ahead of her, she saw him get shot. So that means that being the good doctor, and also again, just thinking about not just his life, but also again, if we can only get out of here. I don't know. I don't even know if it's gonna be enough to get him to the tree line if she's assisting him. But that's what she's gonna go do.
She's gonna go and assist him.
I don't know. Maybe shift course just to try and get closer to him, just to see if he's keeping up or not.
All right. Which one of the two of you has got the worst mobility stat?
Mine is D, so...
Okay, D, and what's the doctor's?
Mine's a C.
Okay, when there's a contested group activity, the worst person in the group does the roll. So, Gavriel, please give me a straight unmodified mobility roll. Okay, that's 2 successes, and they get... Hang on. All right, so you start heading toward the trees, skirting this way, that way, as best you can. You can still both make it. The people behind you continue to yell at you even more loudly. You can hear them chasing you. You think that you are getting toward the tree line. You're actually managing to get some distance from them. They've clearly come to the same conclusion. And you hear another burst of gunfire as they realize they're not going to catch you. And the following will occur. Right. So there's another burst of gunfire. They're not being particularly choosy about which one of you. They don't know which one of you's the threat. But, will of the dice gods, Gavriel, you take another shot. This is to a different leg. It's still the leg. Take 2 damage. You are running, and they are continuing to give chase.
You said it was a different leg?
Yeah.
So where's the tree line? Like 10 feet away? Is it still like 50 meters
away?
I'm
going to say it's about 30 meters away, but you are getting to it faster than they are.
Okay. I have to... besides my handgun, do I have anything of value on me? Well, I do, but I don't know if I care about that much.
Yeah, I'll look at your sheet and see.
I don't think I do. I think I have some knickknacks.
And you have to think it.
Huh?
And you have to think of adrenaline will be going through you at this present time.
Oh yeah,
so.
you got all of that, and you also know that your range is getting bigger, so it's getting harder for them to hit you. You've just crossed mechanically. You've just crossed.
So
the
you won't be feeling the shot that.
Yeah, but I have an idea.
So you won't be.
Oh, okay.
It's a bad one, but I. All right. So when I see the tree line coming closer and closer, I want to time it. And again, theater of the mind. I don't know if I have to roll for it or what, but I want to time it so that when I take this handgun and put it to like this, I'm not pointing it at her, but when I shove it basically into her arms and tell her to run and go find the others, when I fall and hit the ground, the time it takes me to crawl to the tree line will give them, the people chasing me, probably like a few minutes before they reach me. But I want her to run.
Okay, right. Yep, that's absolutely fine. So yeah, you turn, you do that. That's something that you'll be able to do. Dr. Rostergram, you have your colleague shove a gun into your chest and tell you to keep running. What's your reaction?
She's really wishing she had some sort of biohazard symbol that she could slap on him before she goes. But
I actually might have something for that. But it depends if the GM wants to let me do it. Because it's all narrative stuff, and I don't know, these Polish people from Adam. But I'll bring that up later if they catch up to me.
Yep.
I mean, she's been given an order. As much as she hates it, she's gonna have to keep going because clearly he's not gonna be able to keep up anymore, and clearly that's
Okay.
what he's wanting her to do. And it's better if only one person is captured instead of both. Just gonna have to. She hates it, but she's gonna have to keep going.
Okay. So the doctor, with a heavy heart, takes the weapon and keeps running. You get to the tree line without further difficulty. You are aware of the closing sense of danger behind you. The flare is still in the sky, but it has drifted down somewhat by now. There's even more signs of activity coming from the village, although quite a few of those lights that you saw through the gaps in blackout curtains are gone now. So the village, aside from the illumination flare, is much, much darker. But you escape into the tree line. Gabrielle, however, is not quite so fortunate. Wounded, in quite a lot of pain, and having given away his weapon, falls to the ground near the tree line, as he indicated, and watches the good doctor head into the shadows and looming branches. After a few moments, the Polish pursuers who are speaking in Polish, reach the sergeant. As they're approaching,
can I,
Sergeant,
since it's going to take a few moments, can I just do something? So,
yep,
there is, well, there was two things I want to do, but I don't think one of them's really going to matter. One of them was something that would mean something maybe in America, but probably not here. But the other thing I want to do, I believe there is a universal sign for some kind of chemical or biological contamination, right?
There is a universal badge that does that, yeah.
So, yeah, okay, I found it online. So basically, I want to take my Bowie knife that I still have and carve into the tree that I fall down next to that symbol. Now, they probably won't see it because it's dark, but they'll hopefully, if they do see it, they'll realize to stay away. And then after that, I'm just going to sit there facing the trees, facing, I don't want to be shot immediately, so I want to be kind of behind cover, and basically just wait for them to show up.
Fantastic. Do you obviously have your sort of like hands up, or are you just lying there?
I'm just lying there, but I'm gonna stick the Bowie knife in the symbol, so that should make it a bit easier for them to detect. So it's facing them, or at least maybe the side. I just don't want it facing, it's hard to describe.
You want it easy to be seen.
Yeah, I want it.
Yep,
I want them to
absolutely.
see it. Yeah.
So, absolutely. So, propped up against a tree, you watch the doctor run into the darkness. A few moments later, after you've carved the symbol into the tree, as your pursuers grow closer and closer, they start turning on flashlights. You see about 6 of them. 2 of them approach you, and they sort of stop a little distance off and start saying things in a language that you do not understand, but they don't come any closer to you. They start going round the side so they can see you, but they don't come closer.
My hands are in plain sight.
4, yep. Seeing that, their weapons are definitely pointed at you, but they kind of look like they're not quite sure what to do. Difficult to tell much more beyond the language barrier. You can, however, clearly see the other 4 continue on into the woods, continuing a pursuit. It's at this point we're going to change the camera slightly to the rest of the team who are currently gathered around the M113 troop carrier, who's thrown its track, won't be moving until morning. The lieutenant has been working diligently at the repairs. The Sergeant Dalton is having a nap in the back of the vehicle. And as you're working away, you dimly become aware of maybe the sound of gunfire a long way off. On a still night like this, the report of guns carries a long way. And you also become aware of an illumination flare appearing somewhere in the sky. But again, it's quite some distance off. What does this cause you to do?
Well, it would be a cause for worry, especially from I saw the 2 go out in that direction from where the flares go showing, right?
Not quite, assuming that they were elegant in their deception, which is that you would have seen them heading towards Praska, which is northwest of you. But then what they would have to have done is turn northeast to go to Crespis, and the gunfire, the flare, it's coming from the northeast.
I see.
My character is gonna go, oh great. He did it again.
Okay.
I
Do you-
know it is a cause for concern,
Sorry?
but I still need to continue with my work. Like, if we can't get this MBT to to function properly again, we're gonna be bloody sitting ducks, and we'll probably be banished at this point.
Yeah, I have to. He goes to the radio,
Sergeant, don't.
Okay.
and then he goes. He tries to get the lieutenant on the line.
The lieutenant is standing right next to you. Oh, you mean the one up in...
Yeah.
Sorry, for the 6th, yeah. Yeah, so after a few moments, somebody else answers the radio, but it's on the frequency that you are expecting for the NATO troops in Praska. And they identify themselves as... This is Corporal Johnson.
Oh, Corporal, where's the lieutenant?
Who am I speaking to?
Commodore. Commodore Wolf. Of the...
I see. I was informed that you were on a scouting expedition. The lieutenant is currently asleep at this time. I'm covering the radio communications.
I believe we have a little situation the Major needs to be aware of. And she needs
What
to be
kind of
listening.
situation?
Well, one of our soldiers disobeyed orders, and I believe he's went to the village without proper authority, and may have contaminated the village.
Contaminated. I've got a note here that suggested that you were concerned that you would need to go into quarantine. You think he's
Yeah.
exposed the population?
Yes.
I understand. It is vital that I will inform the lieutenant, but it is vital that this go no further. Standard procedure at this point is for no one to go within the risk of contamination zone of Crespis until enough time has passed for symptoms of biological or chemical agents to present themselves, at which point we can observe the village and determine if there is some form of infection or problem. We'll do that by observing you. If you are without symptoms, so will they.
Yes.
Farewell.
And the other issue is he may be captured. I don't know.
You're unaware of the situation of your own men.
No.
I understand. Are you able to confirm whether or not he is captured? Do you think that is something you're going to be able to achieve, or is that information you're not realistically going to be able to come by?
Not available right now. He was supposed to go to you guys, but he decided to take his own actions.
I understand. Whilst it would be difficult to do this, given the possible nature of your own infection, do you require some form of reinforcement or rescue?
I think the best person... I know we can actually talk to the priest of the village and come to an agreement, but I don't know if they're going to be more cooperative since the incident.
I understand this is unfortunate, but it would be useful if we could avoid further conflicts. Certainly not until we know significantly more about the situation. I will put this on the reports. I'll notify the duty officer immediately, and it will be passed to the major and the lieutenant when they are available. But if you do not require any immediate assistance, there's nothing further we are able to do at this time.
Can
Please
you send
carry on.
he goes, oh, plus, our truck has came off our vehicle. Is there any way we can get some help to us?
I understand. I will I will request that a team be dispatched with tools and equipment to assist you, and an engineer if you do not have a qualified one. They will take some time to reach you.
Thank you. And he hangs up the radio.
Okay. Given that you don't appear to be heading toward the immediate sounds of the disturbance,
Nope.
Perfectly sensible. Turn the focus now to Dr. Rostergram. You are running hell for leather through the woods. You are aware of torches behind you, of lights flicking through the darkness. From the way that they're scanning, they do not appear to have landed on you. It's more like they're trying to find where you are. Do you want to continue running, or do you want to go to ground? Do you want to do something else entirely?
Because I was never that good at hide and seek either, so see how this is gonna go. I guess she's still kind of going, I need to keep distance. And I guess with all that adrenaline running through her, she's probably just gonna keep running and hope that she doesn't
Fantastic.
trip on something.
Yeah. Give me a stamina or a mobility roll, your choice. Okay. Background. All right. You keep running. You keep running. The adrenaline pushing you on. Maybe a little bit of fear as well. After all, you're a doctor, and whilst you've been trained in the basics of combat, that wasn't your life purpose, and there are more of them than there are of you. Perhaps that pushes you on, that sense of fear and the need to survive, because as time goes by, you eventually become more and more aware that the lights behind you are growing dimmer and dimmer, further and further away, until eventually they become nothing more than distant pinpricks or gently glowing orbs, and you're confident that you have outpaced your pursuers by a comfortable margin, and unless you were to stop or to turn around, they no longer pose any realistic threat of finding you. Do you continue moving, or do you do something else once the danger appears to have passed?
So now that she can slow down, probably needs to take a bearing, just make sure she's still heading in the right direction. I guess with the moon, you said it was bright moonlight, so that probably helps her at least know directions in general, like east versus west.
Yeah,
Needs to make sure she gets out of this forest in the right spot to go find the others, is what she's thinking.
It's not a full moon, but it is a clear moon, relatively few clouds in the sky. So the illumination is better than it is on many other cloudy nights. You press on, and once you start trying to become aware of your bearings and look around and being a little bit more cautious, you notice a familiar landmark, a distinctive rock that you saw on the way in. You've drifted quite some way off to the side, but having noticed that, you're able to reorientate yourself and start heading towards where the M113 should be. We turn now to Gavriel, who continues to have somewhat confused and uncertain-looking soldiers. Every now and again, they seem to demand something in Polish, but it doesn't come across. They don't seem willing to approach you, and it all just sort of exists in this weird stalemate for quite some time. Eventually, one of the other people who was pursuing the doctor comes back There's a conversation, and then he runs as fast as he can in toward the village. Do you continue to sit and wait, presumably silently, or do you? Okay.
If I guess I'll probably just say, I mean, I don't know if my character would know this or not, but do they at least know, like, I don't speak Polish or English or something? Like, if I could just say English, maybe they know that I speak English. Also, did they ever find the flag I dropped?
Well, that's very, very unlikely, but since you brought it up, I'll give them a recon roll at significant minuses.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's at night,
Yeah,
so.
it's tiny, it's at night, it's in the grass, their attention was on other things. Let's see.
Hopefully they can at least look at me and see the stuff I have on and know that I'm not Russian. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, they don't find your rank patch, or not your rank patch, your nationality patch. Even if they did, you wouldn't be aware of it. But
Right.
they haven't. You do get the feeling, however, that they've worked out you don't speak Polish, because you know that thing that some people do when they're trying to make themselves understood to somebody who speaks a foreign language,
Speaking
which is
slower.
they speak their language but more slowly and loudly.
Yeah.
It's that. You can tell that's happening.
Okay.
And then eventually they've clearly just given up. After a while, another figure appears. This one, he's not wearing a full hazmat or mop suit or something like that, but he is wearing a respirator, very thick, heavy gloves. He's got BDU on, and looking at it, you recognize the somewhat distinctive uniform of the Polish army. The reason why you can recognize it, and I'll see if I can get a link up quickly, is the Polish uniform at that time, other than their weapons, sort of looks like they've just stepped straight out of 1945. It looks old.
Yeah.
And it's very grey and so forth. He's carrying a big bucket, and he just whoosh, throws this big bucket of water all over you, drenching you. You would probably know that is an incredibly amateurish but better than nothing thing you do to people that you think might have a contaminant on them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just link their uniform in the chat.
Gilded or Roll20 chat?
Gilded.
Okay.
There we go. As I said, it looks like they've come out of the past. It is quite outdated. This one has a steel helmet, but you get the idea. After that, he approaches you. He approaches you and starts. He's got like a scrub. He starts scrubbing you down. Other people have backed off. He's
Oh, good! I get a free bath, and all I had to do was try to sneak into their village.
Starts scrubbing you down. When he's doing this, as he's scrubbing you down, he's also taking the opportunity to pat you down, and anything you have on you that either is A, obviously a weapon, or B, he thinks could be improvised as one, like a rope. He's gone, all thrown out to the side. So long as you don't resist.
Yeah, I don't.
Excellent. After a few minutes, he'll guide you up to your feet and push you toward the village, and you start being escorted back in toward the village. And so at this point, we'll now turn to the M113. You see a heaving, panting, still presumably, at least jogging, Dr. Rostogram come out of the night toward you in a state of some distress.
Oh no. Did he do it again?
Master Gam's probably still catching her breath, sorry.
Yeah, he just looks at her and says, he did it again, didn't he?
Cavalier attitude to a missing man.
Screw that guy.
Okay. It was a bad idea, I know. But we both went. Look, the biggest problem is I think I lost the guys following me. And she kind of glanced over at the MM13 to just verify that, yeah, it's still not repaired. She's like, but we still don't know if we're contagious. And I don't know if he's able to communicate that to him because neither of us speak Polish.
Right. Okay. At least we know it's either the Polish. We have to deal with the Polish now. At least the Major can rest easy knowing that she. Yeah. So he's 100% caught.
She glanced like she's got his rifle and she's got his handgun now. She's looking at them like, he made me leave him behind. He's been shot in both of his legs. Okay, I wouldn't leave him behind like that. I had to.
He has to get back on the radio to let the corporal know to.
They've got another sniper blind on this side. Why would they be trying to block access from southwest? She's probably just starting to pace right now, just again to kind of cool her muscles down a bit, but.
I know the answer to that question, and I want to tell you, but I won't.
She's probably muttering things like, why did I don't understand this. I don't understand it.
Does Lieutenant Soberslau have any comment?
He says, "Go and rest." And Lieutenant, you have any comments?
Well, would be quite a risk to try and come up, even especially in our current state. And if they have already tried to shoot at one of us, well, it might be a problem, though. I'm not frankly sure if we could try to diplomatically resolve things instead of going in guns blazing like bloody war criminals.
Yeah.
But despite his habit of going against the chain of command, he's still part of our unit. That's what I'm personally worried about. Not just leave him behind.
You sure didn't leave me behind.
Okay.
I know, we have to do this the right way. He's still part of the US Army as well, so the Major has to be aware of it
No, she doesn't.
as well.
What US Army?
Yeah.
He's like, oh great, she's gonna demote me even further.
He picks up the radio. He says, "Can I get the Major on the line?"
I understand. Give you a few moments, Commodore. And then after around about a minute, you hear the voice that you recognize as Major Strath, as the Major Strathclyde. It's like, this is the Major speaking. I understand that there's been an incident.
Yes. One of our subordinates disobeyed orders and may have encountered the Polish. So we may have got a bad impression by the Polish.
I misspoke a moment ago. I said
anything. Marciam is raising an eyebrow, like that's the only thing that we're concerned about here. She's still thinking like biocontamination.
Biocontamination, man left behind.
And don't forget that the biocontamination, the
Yeah.
deaths of individuals we've encountered,
Oh,
potentiality
plus,
of being exposed to it. As I am still working on the MBT, I literally just point that out.
Yeah. It's not an MBT. It's not a main battle tank. It's a.
Oh,
it's an
sorry.
APC.
Oh, APC. Sorry, my brain just
No.
farted.
Absolutely fine. Just suddenly
And
have
he go-
names. No. Carry on.
he goes, and plus they may be, we don't know if he was able to communicate with them, that he came in contact with the contaminated stuff as well.
I spoke a moment ago, by the way, when I called her Major Strathclyde. It's Major Strathford. But yes, okay. So Major Strathford will say, I understand. Thank you for the update. If the diplomatic situation has degraded, that is something we will simply have to work with. As for poor relations with the Polish, whilst we, of course, do what we can to be on good terms with the locals, there have always been elements of the Polish, both army and civilians, that do not take kindly to us. So our relationships were not that warm to begin with, though they were not openly hostile.
There is one cause to be concerned. When they went to the village, they found a bunker that was south. He goes to the doctor. Was it southeast? Or southwest?
Southwest.
Southwest.
Southwest. This means they likely have at least westward-facing defenses, and you caught possibly the edge of a western defense line, or you may have clipped into something else entirely, but that is a reasonable position. If that is the case, it means that they are ready for an attack coming from our direction, which is concerning information.
Yes.
Thank you for that update. Well, given the contamination, I'm recommending that nobody approach the village until we have been able to confirm that you are not infected, or that the time for effects to come about has elapsed. I've been informed that a small engineering team is about to head out toward you. They were going to walk. I'm now going to be putting them in a vehicle. I'm also going to be attaching somebody else to that, which will be able to assist with any medical issues regarding chemical exposure if that has indeed occurred.
Yep.
This will be at some risk to our own personnel, I should stress.
Yes. I know that. And he says we're at this location. We stayed well away from the civilians, and I was making sure of that. But yeah.
They are on their way. Do you have anything further, Commodore?
I think the best person to talk to in the village would be the priest, if we end up not being contaminated and given enough time.
I understand. I understand that the member of your team speaks Polish?
Yes, he's with me currently right now.
Very well. If you have made prior contact, I may be asking you to lead on those negotiations.
Yep.
Very good. As there is nothing further, I will allow you to return to your business. Please simply remain where you are until relief arrives. Major Strathford out. And yeah. Communication then ends.
He goes,
Okay. Oh, no.
He goes, Lieutenant, looks like we may have to give it some time, and we'll have to go then a diplomatic route. Us guys.
I believe it would be more rational than to go in blazing after all.
Yeah. The major thinks we should be the first, the people to lead that. To make sure our person doesn't get left behind.
Understood.
Okay. So, attention swings back now to Sergeant Gavriel. Sergeant, you are pushed. You're able to walk, but with some degree of pain. into the ruined outskirts of the village. As you're doing so, make me a flat recon roll, because I'm presuming you're keeping your eyes out for anything interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. If there weren't for the damn leg,
Oh,
what I get? Oh,
you
okay.
got 3 successes. That's good.
If it weren't for the language
So,
barrier, I'd be trying to talk to them, but they won't understand me. So.
yeah. So as you're being pushed in, led in, hobbling as best you can on your 2 wounded but still functional legs, you notice that there is a distinct lack of civilian presence on the streets. All the lights that you previously saw have gone out. There are a couple of people who appear to be armed on the streets and near the outskirts, but not as many as the amount of noise you heard would indicate. These civilians, they appear to have some mix of civilian and military equipment. The only people you see are people holding guns. About half of the people here are uniformed, half of them aren't. And at one point, you see something very, very interesting, and and from the embarrassed look on the face of the person that you're about to see, you immediately realize that you were not supposed to see this. Which is, you look over at somebody, what was once a garden of a now destroyed home, and there's nothing really obscuring your line of sight there other than maybe a wall that's no higher than your knee. And there's clearly nobody in that garden. You look back a couple of seconds later and you see somebody standing up in that garden.
Like they're standing up like they're crawling out of a trapdoor, or they're standing up like they just rose from the dead? Like,
standing up like they're crawling out of a trapdoor.
okay. I'll keep that in mind, but I'll just continue forward like I didn't notice anything. Although they saw me see them, so I guess it doesn't matter, but I'll just not care at this moment.
Okay. You're taken into one of the ruined buildings that is clearly not occupied, and you are sort of picked up almost. You're guided toward and then picked up and put to lay down on a table. And after a few moments, somebody with a big medical bag hanging off the side of them, again wearing a respirator and magnetic gloves, comes up and he says words in Polish that you don't understand. But a figure who arrived with him, who looks a little bit older and is wearing a full Polish military uniform, says a few moments later in slightly broken English. He says to relax. He asks if you have any allergies to medicines.
No, I do not.
Says something to the person with the medical bag, who then nods, and he pulls out a syringe and draws a blood sample from you, unless you attempt to resist. Passes that off to the side. Puts some of it into various little vials and starts dripping little chemical agents into those various vials. He then addresses the bleeding from both of your legs and bandages them appropriately.
Okay.
And he then starts getting a little flashlight, a relatively small but powerful one, and says something in Polish. The translator says in broken English, he remind you, relax. It okay. And he's shining a light into your eye. He opens up your mouth and is looking at the tissues on the inside of your mouth. He's rolling up various pieces of your clothing, again inspecting your skin in some detail. Without mercy or pause for embarrassment, he pays quite some attention to your armpits and groin, because those are some of the areas that chemical weapons can affect first, because they sweat a lot.
Right.
And so he's paying attention to those. And then he, every now and again, once the bleeding's been addressed, he turns back to the samples that he's taken. He pokes them a bit and picks them up, shakes them, puts them down, picks them up, shakes them. Says something in Polish, and then the man translates. He says you're not infected. He says you're safe.
Did you know that and I'm saying this in character. I'll say, did your people know that pronunciation Sestakawa? Is that how you pronounce it?
Mhm.
In an American way. But did your people know that these so-called chemical or biological agents were used there?
When you ask that, there'll be a moment or two in Polish conversation until eventually this man says, "For the moment, you not ask questions. We will ask the questions." And at that gesture, you're picked up, you're pushed along, and the doctor starts saying something in Polish. He starts waving his hand very angrily. And these people lift you back down until eventually they arrive a few minutes later with a wheelchair, and then put you in the wheelchair to take the strain off your legs, and then they start wheeling you deeper into the village, out of the ruined section, and into the more well-ordered section in the middle. You are aware that you are under quite some formidable escort, a mix of people in full uniform and assorted pieces of civilian and military kit. One of them is actually a little interesting in that he appears to be wearing largely civilian gear, except he's got a Soviet weapon, Soviet helmet, American backpack. Where did that come from? And then you're taken into the basement of a normal townhouse. Nothing remarkable about it. When you enter into the main door, it's clear no one lives here. It's a purely functional building, but it's occupied. People doing it. There's work tools and so forth about. It's not residential. And then you're taken into the basement and plopped down in a chair somewhat aggressively, and two people bind your hands behind you and bind your ankles to the chair, and they more thorough in taking away potential items. They even take away your shoelaces. But eventually, they mainly leave the room, and you're left alone without explanation in the room with two guards. You say or do anything either during the journey or at that point?
Do I get the sense that these guards speak English? Or no?
You get the feeling they don't know.
Yeah. I won't bother saying anything then. Although, I do have a plan for whenever they decide that they want to interrogate me, so I guess I'll just wait for that. By the way, what do they tie my hands and ankles with? Zip ties? Rope?
It's rope. They don't have zip ties.
Okay. Damn. I could easily get out of zip ties. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, no, it's rope. But not so much because they know it's better than zip ties. It's just they don't have zip ties.
Yeah, no, okay.
So, you sit there, waiting for time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. You don't really know. Maybe the anxiety is starting to get to you. Maybe your imagination's running away with yourself. You've heard about torture. Is that what's going to happen to you? Is this going to be a relatively pleasant conversation? Is it going to be a very hostile one? After a few minutes, the person who was doing the broken English translation from a few moments ago walks in, and he walks in he walks in on his own. Says, "Very good. Who are you, soldier?"
Well, I am part of a small U.S. and UN military unit that was sent to make contact with your village. I think we did that. Remind me if I'm mistaken, GM, but we did that yesterday, right?
Right.
Okay. As well as travel to Seskatoko. Oh god, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna call it Seska. To investigate, that city, and then on the way back, our vehicle broke down. Me and my doctor wanted to come and warn you guys about the potential hazardous materials there. We weren't sure. And remind me, as a player, because my memory is not great, when the preacher guy was talking to us, did he mention the hazardous materials, or did he just say that it was a nuclear thing?
He didn't mention that directly, but he was responsible because you recognized like his linguistical style for the note that was given to you, warning you of no one comes back alive from Sesta Shower.
Okay, I'll share that too. Basically, anything related to the chemical and biological stuff, I'll share, and then I'll say, yeah, we were coming to warn you guys, and then I heard some Russian voices out in the darkness, and so of course me and the doctor, we got down on the ground in the field, and then that's when we noticed the sniper, and then I'll mention that little sniper or that little dugout, and then I saw what looked like a Russian soldier leaving, and the soldiers inside, the Polish ones I imagine, started shouting and shooting at us, and we started running, and it's just all one big misunderstanding. But apparently you have a mole in your group, or some traitors or something. I don't know. That's between y'all. That has nothing to do with me. I just wanted to come and warn you guys before we headed back to our base.
Give me that
yeah, I knew
persuasion
it was coming.
roll.
I knew it was coming.
If you've got anything that allows you, like a bonus that allows you to be particularly good at lying, I'm just going to look at your specialties.
I just got persuasion.
No, you don't. So yeah, give me a.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Give me a flat persuasion roll.
All right. Oh dear Jesus. Oh man. So they definitely don't buy it.
Right. Yeah. No. So you give.
I tried.
And they. Yep. And he sort of scrutinizes you for a bit, and then says, "What Russians? How many? Where? What direction?" You get the feeling that he's letting you dig yourself deeper into a hole.
Yeah. Man. Well, I said I heard Russian voices. I mean, it could have been someone else speaking Russian. I'm assuming you have Polish people here who speak Russian, so maybe I was mistaken in that. But I did see somebody walk out of the dugout. That's why do you think we're on the ground? It's not like we're trying to sneak into your village because you guys are hiding some weird militia underground or anything.
When well, as you speak, he leans in, squints a bit more, and says, "I know you are lying, which means that I can only assume you have ulterior motive, English."
Ulterior motive, yeah, I know what that is. Yeah.
I see. Well, what is your true purpose in approaching our village like a thief in night?
Okay, well, out of character, I'm saying this. I guess it's time to go with the truth. Well, he's
okay. Yep.
I think Gabriel is gonna still maintain at least part of the lie that but he's gonna try to do it more subtly. He's gonna say, well, when we first got here, obviously we talked to the preacher guy, and then he's gonna. What was the other guy's name? That was with the preacher guy.
Never found out.
Never found out. Okay. And he didn't speak English, right? He spoke.
Yeah,
Polish?
that's correct.
Okay. So yeah, we talked to the preacher. I honestly don't think Gabriel would care to remember his name, so he'll just say the preacher guy basically the whole time. But we spoke to him. He told us that you guys had some kids out there playing in the dugouts and this is, I think this is what he said. Let me know if I'm unintentionally lying, but I think he said some kid was out there, quote unquote, trying to protect the village or whatever from the sniper blinds.
Yeah. He referred to him as a boy, but you kind of get that feeling that
like
old men refer to young men as boys.
Yeah, he's probably like 20 or 22. So yeah, he'll mention that, and then Gabriel will say, but it just seems so damn odd that you have all your firing arcs directed to the south and not the north, when the Russians are coming from the north. So I mean, the only thing I could assume was that you guys were housing Russians, and so we thought in addition to warning you about the hazardous material that may be down there, that we'd see if we can figure out what you guys are hiding, and clearly that didn't work out. So here we are.
I see. And you get the feeling that he's not entirely satisfied with that response, but he's not outright going bullshit.
Right.
He says, and he'll move on and says, "Come from the NATO forces to the northwest, correct?"
Sorry, the accent. What was that? Something about northwest.
You come from the NATO forces to the northwest.
Yeah. Let me see if I can remember. Is that the Praska one? Yeah, Praska.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just mention Praska.
Let me see. How many troops do they have?
Why do you care?
Because they have just sent somebody to sneak up on us in the night.
Well, to
I
be
want
fair,
to know what they have.
to be fair, I have disobeyed orders quite a few times. I was supposed to go back to Praska to let them know that our vehicle had broken down, but I couldn't resist trying to see if you guys were housing Russians. And like I said, I heard someone speaking Russian. I assumed they were Russian. Maybe they're not. But either way, I definitely think opening fire on someone who's just curious and just trying to warn you is a gross overreaction.
Okay, so out of character. Yes, firing on somebody who refuses to surrender when challenged and runs away.
No.
But...
He's still keeping the lie that he was just walking.
Oh, yeah.
La 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 la. Here I come, and then all of a sudden he heard Russian, and then he's going down, and then they started shooting. He's leaving out a lot of parts that
Oh, he's leaving out a lot that is very easy to falsify. But crucially, probably the most unbelievable bit of all of that is the truth. Which is, I'm a soldier who disobeys orders all the time. So, give me another persuasion roll to see if.
Orders so many times, I should have been court-martialed 1 billion times over.
Well, technically, this is only the second time.
I should have spent the rest of my existence in either a military prison or sent to the firing squad.
Technically, this is only the second time, but also
two successes.
Yeah, but also, I mean, there's really no military left anyway.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
In it.
Yeah, no, you're good.
You are asking me to believe that you are a moron.
Not
you
really.
Might be right.
I would say I'm very bad at sneaking, or I have bad ideas, but I am super suspicious of people, and you are people. So, yeah, I was suspicious of you.
You have not answered my question, though. How many troops are there?
I mean, I literally was there for like 18 hours. I didn't see everything and everyone. It could have been 20. It could have been 600. I have no idea.
What about vehicles?
Well, they at least have a pickup truck, because that's what we traded for an APC. But beyond that, again, I have no idea.
They gave you an APC for pickup truck. They must have lots of vehicles.
Or they have just the two and they needed our truck. Like I said, I saw maybe a dozen or 24 people there. I didn't see a whole lot. And I remember, the player remembers they had like 300 people.
Yeah, and 4 MBTs at least, and Bradleys, and So give me that persuasion roll. This is separate line. Yeah, all right, okay. He's not entirely convinced, but he's not going on the bullshit line. He's going, this smell wrong. You must be asked further. Knock, 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 knock on the door. You must be asked. Knock, 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 knock on the door.
You might want to get that.
Come in. And the priest, as you refer to him, arrives. Father Anatol Polak.
Preacher man.
He looks rough. He also looks like he's just gotten out of bed. His clothing doesn't quite look right.
What is it, dawn?
But even beyond
dawn
that,
at this point?
No, it's still proper
night?
dark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He looks rough. But even by he's just gotten out of bed, he looks rough. And in fact, give me a recon roll. It's not majorly important, but it's just see if you pick up an extra little something. Okay, no, you don't.
Absolutely not. I barely remember him, to be honest with you. I'm just like, Preacher Man? Like, I'm trying to guess his name. I do not recognize anything about him besides I met him before.
Absolutely fine. Yeah. And he says, he turns to the before speaking to you. He turns to the Polish soldier and says, "Have you hurt this man?" And he's deliberately speaking in English. You get an answer in Polish.
Besides
and
being
says,
shot,
"Please."
I'll say.
Please, be respectful to our guest. Speak in English in front of him, unless you want him to think there is something you are hiding. No, father. Speaks truthfully. We shot to capture. I told he run, but nothing beyond. We have given him medical attention and treated well. See, that is as I would expect. We do not want to worsen this situation, though the situation may already be very poor. He turns and says, "Tell me, my child, why did you do what you were doing?" And he responds to that question, and he also asks, "And why have you removed your flag?"
Well, like I just told your friend here. Uh-oh, I think my mic is fucking up. Testing, can you hear me?
I can still hear you. Yep,
Okay.
we can still hear you.
I just heard a bunch of static all of a sudden. He says, as I told your friend here. Oh, for fuck's sake. What in the world? What in the world?
What the fuck?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'll be right back. What in the world?
Oh, I got connected.
Didn't we all just...
Did we all get disconnected?
Yeah,
That
we
was-
all
I got
disconnected. It must be a gilded problem.
Gilded, yeah. Okay. So yeah, like
God
I
damn it, Gilbert.
Russians act gilded.
like I told your wonderful friend here, who is definitely not going to torture me for information that I don't have. Like you already knew, we were going to that city to check it out. By the way, we did come back, so thanks for that. But we encountered that it was covered or potentially covered in a biological or chemical substance. We found Russians, I believe they were Russian soldiers, covered in lesions and other things that indicated it wasn't irradiated, at least not after the initial bombing. Anyway, like I said to him, we came to warn you guys. It doesn't make sense for me to come with a doctor who specializes. He's just going to lay on the lies. That specializes in NBC. If we were going to sneak in and sabotage you or spy on you, that doesn't make any sense. Clearly, I'm bad at sneaking. I'm not a scout. But basically, we just came to warn you. We were out in the dark. We were walking. We didn't expect to see another sniper blind. We heard some voices. We got down. It sounded like Russian, but to be honest with you, Polish and Russian, tomato to me. But then we saw someone walk away. Then they started yelling, and we started moving back. They started shooting. But to be honest with you, if you just tell me why you're housing a bunch of troops under the ground, I'll be happy to tell you anything else you want.
The priest smiles as you say that, particularly that last bit, and he'll turn to the gentleman over here and says, "Oh, is he telling the truth when he claims that they were coming here to inform us of the danger?" And then the Polish soldier turns back and says in English, "I do not believe so. If they were here as friends to talk of danger, they would come down road openly. They were crawling on bellies through grass to try
Says
and
your
sneak up."
supposed possible collaborators with the Russians. We were walking through a field because that's the closest distance between A and B is a straight line. We're not going to go to the road and then walk, and like that just would take too time. We just walked towards your village. We didn't expect to see another sniper blind facing in our direction, and that's when we heard the voices. We got down on our belly, and then, to not be shot, they started shouting, they started shooting, we started running. It's very simple. It's more easier to for me at least, to comprehend than two spies, one of which is a medic, decided to sneak into the village. Like I said, if you just tell me why you're holding people underground and in darkened buildings, I think this would go a lot easier for both parties.
First, the Polish soldier says in English to the priest, I have talked to the sentry. They were not acting as he claims, and they did not identify themselves when challenged. Instead, they ran.
We don't
If they were
speak
here
Polish.
to talk to us, they would not have run.
How will we identify ourselves when we just hear people shouting in Polish or Russian? I mean, depending on who you ask. All we know is they were shouting, so we tried to remain as non-threatening as possible. And then they started shooting as we were trying to get away from the sniper blind that we didn't see until we got down on our belly. So I don't understand why your soldiers would lie, but clearly they have something to hide.
You get a sort of look of, I am done with your bullshit from the Polish soldier. The priest says, you would have simply stood still. No, you were here for some other purpose, but
even if that was true, I told you the other reason. We want to know why you're housing the troops underground and in darkened buildings.
Well, I imagine that would be easy for you to guess and understand, which is that subtlety and secrecy is the best form of defense. If people do not know we are worth raiding and worth attacking, we get less raids and attacks.
Right, but you have the Russian front up here. I don't know if you can see the Roll20 that I'm clicking on. You have Prashka, which is right next door. Then you have below that, which is, as far as I could tell, nothing except nothing. That's where all your sniper blinds are. So what are you waiting for?
My friend here, he gestures to the Polish soldier, and his type, these men of arms and war, would be most dissatisfied with me if I told you the answer to that question.
Well, then he can tell me.
But he will not. He guards his secrets, and whilst I do think he is being a little too secretive, he sort of gives a disapproving look. I live with these people. I work with these people. I must respect their judgment in military matters and matters of defense. I am but a humble man of God. But, as I have said, the reason why we are secretive is to conceal the fact that we may be worth attacking, and, should the people wish to attack us anyway, to conceal the ability to defend ourselves, so they may be surprised. It is nothing more than that.
Assuming that that's true, and I'm 60-40 on that, but assuming that's true, why didn't you tell us when we first arrived, and why, if you're so close to Prashka, which you already know is a UN base, which is going to be overrun eventually by the Russians, I still don't know why they're there, but why wouldn't you reach out to the Prashka base to see if they could help you instead of just hiding underground? Because eventually you're going to be completely surrounded on all sides. You're not going to be able to go anywhere, and you're going to be killed.
The priest is about to answer that question when the Polish soldier angrily interrupts him and says, "Because NATO have murdered million Poles, many million Poles, just like Russian. You all same. You cannot always be trusted. Say you here to help us, but only help yourselves." Please, calm down. The situation is not as black and white as that. We know that there are good Russians and bad Russians. We know that there are good NATO and bad NATO. And he turns to you and continues. But he speaks the truth to some degree. You cannot assume all people from the West are our allies, as that has already proven not to be the case. We must be cautious and assess the behavior and character of all people who come here, no matter what flag they may have once been under.
Have you been able to identify the specific NATO units that have done these atrocities as you claimed?
And say that, and the Polish soldier says, some yes, others no. It is difficult to know who authorized nuclear weapons. It's very clear that he's talking about incidences beyond just nuclear weapons, but he is considering nuclear strikes that hit civilian targets as being a similar thing.
I'm trying to have Gabriel lead them in a direction. I don't know if it's going to work though. But like, he's not really concerned about the nuke stuff. That's one of those things it happened. It's in the past. There's nothing we can do about it. Move on, kind of thing. But he's worried about the future at this point. He's worried about his future, especially. So he's gonna say, look, if you can identify, and I'm not talking about the nuclear strikes. We know that was the worst idea ever. But if you can identify to me a specific unit that may or may not be in the vicinity that has done these atrocities, I can help you.
Such as the 6th Mechanized Infantry Division?
Is that one of the units?
We do not believe the entire division, but we do know that troops from that division have looted and enslaved Polish citizens in the past.
Which, and this is me asking.
Out of character.
Which subunit, division, whatever you want to call it, are we a part of? Because I've completely forgotten what.
So yeah, you are 6th Mechanized.
I remember that division.
Part. As for beneath that, it got very, very informal. Mm-hmm. You do, however, know that the group of people that you were with, which is actually 50 people from this company, 20 people from that one, 6 people from that battalion, it got really informal. But you personally, unless you want to put it into your backstory, have not served under an officer that did that. You've heard rumors, but you always hear rumors, and the rumors began when things got bad. Last year.
What's the name of the unit we're currently in under the major? Which one's that? What's that called?
So it doesn't really have
It's just a gathering of people that come together.
Yes, gathering. But yeah, it is. But the major was previously in charge of, I'm just going to say, the 3rd Battalion.
Okay.
That was the, and so if for whatever reason they were identified as a group, it would probably be the major's old battalion, even though people have come from everywhere.
Okay. So then Gabriel will say, and that the 3rd Battalion was under 6th, right? The 6th
Mechanized Infantry Division. Yeah.
So I'll say, was one of them the 3rd Battalion in the 6th Mechanized Infantry Division?
There's conversation that goes on a moment, and it's oddly back into Polish. And then says, the father says, we never discovered their names. All we can say is that we have heard allegations, multiple allegations, which corroborate one another against an officer who was described as a pale-skinned, long brown-haired female officer.
Is that why you want to attack Prashka?
That, I was about to say, that immediately in your mind matches the description of Major Strathford.
So, he's going to say, is that why you want to attack Prashka? He's going to look at the military guy when he says that.
When he says that, the military guy does not answer the question, but the priest does. And he will say, only defend.
Then you believe that Prashka, or whoever's there now is going to come here eventually.
It is a concern, and tonight's events may have accelerated that timetable.
Well, that might be a good thing, but it's it's kind of hard to speak freely about that in present company. No offense. Gabriel will look to the military guy when he says that, but he's gonna make sure that they both notice him glance to the two guards that are still in the room, and then look back to them. But he's gonna say, let's just say that not everybody in her unit wants to see her continue to lead, and I had been planning before this whole thing started to deal with that, but it's kind of hard to do that when you're tied to a chair.
Out of character, is that a truthful statement that you just hadn't revealed, or is that something you've made up on the spot?
I would say that's 90% true. So, like, eventually my character was going to try to do something like that, but he's going to accelerate that and basically build it up, kind of over elaborate it to make it seem like he's leading a coup or a mutiny, when in reality he was going to basically just try to, like, get her off to the side and, like, hey, look over there, and then, like, basically just kind of use manipulation. No, he wasn't going to kill her, but he was going to try to use manipulation to get her out of the way, because that's more of his strength than actual fighting. But in this case, he's saying, yeah, no, I'll do whatever it takes to get rid of her.
Okay, that will affect the difficulty of the roll. Give me a persuasion roll.
Okay. And at this point, what he's saying, like, he actually is going to go through with it. Like, he will try to kill her.
Yeah. That's a flat roll. I'm not giving people bonuses to try and... Okay, so you say that. And so what you say is hard to believe, but I sense there is some truth in your statement. This is a concerning development, but an interesting one. I do not wish to see more blood. It is my most earnest hope. This is the priest talking.
Yeah.
It is my most earnest hope that the NATO troops will simply remain where they are and see to their own affairs, and those who wish to live with us in peace come and live with us in peace. And we stay where we are and see to our own affairs and do not disturb one another. But I know that that is sometimes a naive hope in these words. Do you think there is any merit in approaching the Major and negotiating a peaceful resolution to these affairs?
I think that is kicking the can down the street. Sorry, that's an American term. Basically, postponing the inevitable. I think her original intent was to send us in this direction to see what resources you had so that she could take them. Honestly, you're not worth invading, if I'm being completely honest, but she might not see it that way. So what I would do if I weren't here right now is I would basically tell her, it could be a good trading outpost, but nothing more. And, don't even go into the village. It's not worth it. Just meet someone, make some exchanges, and that's it. Don't even worry about that other Sheshka city. It's not worth it. Don't even go south. It's not worth it. But then make moves to remove her from leadership, because whether she has 20 or 700 people under her command, I think most of them will be glad to see her gone. If I read the few people I did meet, if I read them correctly, and then reinstating another leader is just a matter of it should be relatively easy, because I think they will know that if they don't play by the agreed upon rules of the Geneva Convention, that they're going to go too. And to be completely honest with you, I was a military guy. I did believe in the military, and I did believe in military discipline right up until the nukes fell. In which case, now it's a matter of survival. It's no longer a matter of proving who was right in any given situation or fighting, for any kind of cause. It's just about survival. And if getting rid of her means your survival, then I am your biggest ally in her camp.
He says, your words are encouraging. I will have to think on this matter. In the meantime, is there anything other than your freedom, which I am not currently in a position to give you, that you would desire? Perhaps some hot food and a change of clothes?
That's fine. I mean, can I not be tied to a chair as well?
I will leave. He smiles and then turns to the pole next to him and says, I will leave the issues of your security in the hands of people who know more about it than I, but I will ask that they make you as comfortable as is possible. And he's kind of like giving the guy the stare, like, make him comfortable. But it's clear that this person isn't massively pushing, the limits of his priestly authority,
Right.
because that's not much.
Yeah.
But he will say, thank you for your cooperation. I'm sure we will have further conversations and questions. In the meantime, I bid you good night, Sergeant.
Good night.
And he'll leave, as will the person who is able to speak broken English, and you'll be left in there with 2 guards. Eventually, you will be brought to a different room in the building. This will be a couple of stories up. It will be a bedroom. So there's some furnishings and so forth. The window is very much locked, and also there's a blackout curtain in there. And as I said, it's a few stories up. You will be untied, but you won't have any of your stuff given back to you. You'll be provided with a hot meal and a change of clothes. They're civilian clothes, but they're there for you to change into if you wish. You will remain under guard of 2 people.
In the room? Like while I'm sleeping
Yeah.
and everything? Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, they're paranoid. I mean, they might be willing to leave you if they could do that sort of like we can see you through one-way glass kind of thing, but
Yeah.
they don't have that
I
set
mean,
up.
I'll even take handcuffs to the bed if I can sleep alone. Like I just don't feel like having someone watch me sleep. Other than that, I'm good with everything.
They'll have a think about that. But yeah, that's how your time will pass. In the
Okay.
meantime, we turn our attention to the south. And unless there's anything that you want to do immediately, it'll take about an hour, 2 hours, for a vehicle to approach you. Looks like a jeep, and starts moving towards you. It's clearly a NATO vehicle. Do you go up and greet it? Do you challenge it? Do you move, or do you just allow it to approach?
He'll allow it to approach.
Okay, it drives almost right up to you. It at first it looks like it's going to miss you a bit, and then you get the feeling that they've actually spotted your vehicle and adjust their course and go straight at you.
Yeah.
And then a couple of people jump out. They're not wearing proper chemical warfare gear; it's just masks. And even then, they don't look great. But they come up and say, "We're here to assist you. Has the situation changed, Commodore?"
No, Lieutenant. Give him the update with the vehicle.
Alright, so what's the condition of the vehicle?
It's thrown a track, and there is an element, like a piece of, like the rims of the plates on the track that kept the track in place. That's sheared, so it just flopped off, and you've had difficulty repairing that.
I've been having difficulty repairing the area the area that holds the track together of this APC.
I understand. We've brought some tools that'll be able to help with that.
Oh goodness.
Basically, they've got like welding equipment, and they start work on it. Would you like to take the lead as a Remy officer, or yep? Make me a tech roll, and you can give yourself like 1 dice step up to this tech roll.
All right, rolling.
Make as much progress as you wish you had, and it doesn't look as though things are going much faster. Sadly, they are nonetheless working on it.
At least,
In the meantime,
work will be
carry on.
speeding up, sort of, maybe.
Yeah, looks like the welding doesn't want to take, but progress is being made. And in the meantime, the other people say, Have you found out anything further about the village? I believe you were told to remain where you are, but I don't know if anything's happened.
Well, one of our people thought it would be a good idea to, how can I say, go to the village. The little village. Which now I have to go over and talk after a few hours of being. See if a few hours have passed. See if any of us have been contaminated or not.
I see. We're here to help you with that, with both with the negotiations and with the contamination. I understand this may be a little sensitive, but if you would kindly remove your jackets, we can conduct some tests and allow us to draw some blood samples, and then.
All right.
Excellent. And they'll do to you much what they did to Gavriel, which is, look in the eye, look at the tissue on the inside of the mouth, look into the armpit. They're a little less keen to look at the groin, but if for whatever reason it becomes necessary, they'll take you to a private place behind the other side of the M113 and do it in as much privacy as they can. Take some blood samples, do some little tests on those, and after ask you a couple of routine questions about if you've been experiencing any symptoms, which you haven't been. And after a while, they say, we believe you're all clear. If there are any chemical agents, they would have had effect on you already. If there are any biological agents, they should have come up in the tests that we just ran, and you seem clean.
That's good.
All right, very well. In that case, we're here to assist you with negotiations and to provide you with escort and security.
Yes, hopefully we can actually get to the village and talk to the priest again.
Do you want to go now, or do you want to wait until dawn?
We'll wait till dawn, because it'll give, the soldier who thought it'd be a good idea to sneak off in the first place some time to think.
All right. So, is there anything any of you wish to do before dawn, or are you happy to move ahead till dawn?
Do you have anything else you guys want to do? You're free to do anything.
Is their vehicle going to be fixed by dawn?
Probably, yeah. Early morning. Not going to be fixed tonight. Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so I'm going to assume that it's okay to go till dawn. So the night passes tensely. You don't know if there are people from the village watching you from the tree line. It's possible to tell. You don't know if you're about to be attacked, and something is plaguing the backs of many of your minds about what could be happening to your comrade who's just vanished. Is he being tortured? Is he dead? Has he already been shot? You don't know. Eventually, the early morning will come. I'll need everybody except Gavriel to mark off a unit of ration and water from their sheets. And you will then be told, with a triumphant roar from the engine, and the vehicle moving forward a couple of feet, proving that the tracks are still in place. We'll say, we've managed to get the vehicle fixed, Commodore. It's good to go.
Thanks.
Well, you have a working vehicle. What is your plan?
Let's go to the village.
So, you all pile into the vehicle and head. Do you head down the road, like go to the road and then openly approach down the road? Do you approach from the... Okay, good. And do you do anything to make yourself seem maximally non-threatening, like, waving a big piece of... Like, taking your shirt and waving it so you've got a white piece of cloth or something along those lines?
We're gonna stick a white piece of cloth on, like, a stick on the front.
Okay. So you do that, and the vehicle rumbles on down the road. It's unchallenged. You can all give me a recon roll as you drive towards the village.
Righto.
Can I do that too to see if I can hear it?
Baba booey.
No, you hear it anyway. You don't even need a
Okay.
recon roll.
Baba booey.
Okay, Draco does well. In the background.
Master Kriebel might
Alright.
be away still.
Okay, that's fine. We'll go. Okay, you see nothing as you approach. I should point out, by the way, because you can push if you want to push, but the only person that would be in any way useful for is Wolf, because Draco already got maximum roll. The difficulty is you have to get at least 3 successes. You know that. So if you want to push, you can push. Although I don't think it's actually possible for you to get 3 successes because you can only get 1 on a d6. So yeah, no, you see nothing. You see nothing. As you drive toward the edge of the village, you are expected. And there are, again, the same handful of people that you bumped into last time you came here, waiting for you, including the priest, standing. He appears and walks out into the middle of the road, and you're sort of waved to come to a halt a little outside the outskirts of the village as this party of people approach you.
Yep.
Priest will open up his arms and say, I am pleased to see you all again. How can we be of assistance to you this morning?
I believe one of my soldiers thought it would be a good idea to sneak into your village without authorization.
Yes, the impulsive young sergeant. Add a character question for Infamous. Would Gavriel have some time ago thrown away all his ID papers, his name badge, all that kind of stuff, or does he still have those?
Yeah, I think the big stuff like military ID, he would have probably secretly shredded. He still has his dog tags though, which are metal, so
Okay.
they know his name and stuff like that. But as far as paperwork, yeah, he wouldn't carry any of that with him.
Okay. Oh yes, the young Sergeant Gavriel did have a bit of an interesting evening, but I assure you, he is, not entirely unharmed. He was shot, but he has not been harmed any more since his capture. His wounds have been tended to, and he will recover in time.
I'm hoping we can actually come to a peaceful resolution to the events last night.
That is my most earnest hope as well. What is it? Presumably you seek his return. Have you come here?
Yes.
Let me see. Have you come here as just yourselves, or have you come from the Major?
I'm here for myself, plus the Major, but I don't leave a person behind, so
And
I like leaving him.
Carry on.
Because, plus, if I get to leave him in your care for a few hours to sit there and think about what he's done, I'm perfectly fine doing that as well.
He strikes me as a young man who is not particularly prone to examine his own flaws. But it is important to know if you negotiate for yourself or the Major. And also, I notice you have some new friends, and he gestures to the Major's men who have come with you. We have not been introduced. Where have these men come from?
They're the Major's men. We had one of our vehicles. Our vehicle lost tracks on it, and
Track and
yeah. And plus, we had running with a chemical. It seemed like it was a virus or something. We don't know if it's still. It's in the city south of us.
Yes, I know of what you speak. We have learned of it. I am happy to tell you that your man here is safe and clean and without infection.
Oh, thank you. We're a little worried because he was there as well, and you may be infected, and that's what we're worried about.
I thank you for your concern, but we are confident that we are well. After all, the potential source proved negative, and we have done some testing on the first few people to have contact with them. And again, that was all well and clear, but I thank you for your concern.
Thank you.
Well, what do you have the authority to guarantee or offer to negotiate for your comrade's release?
It seems like he's ready put salt on the wounds. I know your village was not a concern for us, and we're willing to leave it alone anyway, because it seemed like you were equipped to handle yourselves. If you wanna actually, we'll leave you alone in the process. If you want to open negotiations in the future, we'll be willing to open the negotiations in the future.
I understand. And is that the opinion and decision of you all, that in exchange for the safe release of your comrade, you are willing to leave this village alone?
He looks at the other negotiators to see if they're in the same boat. I know it is my personal opinion that it's better off leaving you guys alone. If you want help, we're always not too far away. Some of us are willing to, like myself, willing to help, not do anything to the people.
I am pleased to hear you say that. There are far too many people on all sides of the current conflicts and the conflicts past who pay little mind or attention to the civilian populations and the natives and simply burn it all. And I am pleased, and I believe you when you say that that is not your intention. And has the Major offered this assurance herself?
He put me in charge with the negotiations.
I understand. He turns and looks to Dr. Rostergram and says, "Doctor, you are looking a little perturbed. Are you quite well?"
I guess I won't know for sure unless I have a test done on this contaminant that may or may not be in my system, Father.
Out of character, that was something that happened whilst you were away. I didn't realize, which is that the NATO people who've come up and assist you brought test kits. Everybody tested negative.
Okay, so we'll rewind that a little bit.
Yep, fine. Is she still looking a bit tetchy, or is she looking a bit more confident?
Okay, so she's not really been wanting to look at the priest, because it's like, yeah, I just was sneaking onto your guys' property last night and then I ran away.
Yeah. And he, being a keen observer of human nature, has noticed this, but carry on.
I am not well, Father, but I think it is one of those things that is not able to be. I think only God alone can heal it.
God alone rarely heals things. He gives us and the people around us the tools and the guidance and the inspiration to heal one another if we will but let them. I'm happy to offer this as best I can, but I'm sure that there will be open hearts amongst your company who will be willing to assist you as well.
It sounds like the conditions for release are that we would not return. And I do think it might be wisest for me to not return until I am no longer a soldier but can be the doctor that I wished I could be.
I understand, and it is sad that that is what this may have come to, but yes, certainly for now, the events of the past few evenings have caused my associates to be a little perturbed. This is a shame, as we want nothing but peaceful cooperation between all peoples, but we must look to our own safety. I have been told to ask a question, though, which is that my colleagues saw 2 people in the night, but have only captured 1. Who was the second, and what has become of them?
The second is, well, they're going to be in trouble and not necessarily court-martialed, and just have a strong word too. Same with Gabrielle. I don't know what the major's opinion is on it. Because they're still part of the military, and she is in the US military, so she'll be the most likely person to handle them both.
See. And tell me, Commodore, actually, tell me, all of you, what are your opinions on the Major?
If my opinion is that there's something more than meets the eye.
And it's interesting. And turns to the doctor. Actually, no, turns to the lieutenant first, to Sobislaw, and says, is this what you think of the Major as well? That there is something more to her than meets the eye?
From a personal standpoint, yes. There definitely seems there is definitely something that is being that is not transparent.
You people are transparent in these times. What about you, Doctor? What are your thoughts on her?
She wears a familiar flag. I do not know enough about her. I know she is an ally.
He smiles. He doesn't comment on this, but he notes that either you're already receptive to or you've taken on board his previous comments of the nations of the world don't particularly exist anymore, moving beyond our old national allegiances. He just notes that. As I see. I see. And is that the opinion of you all as well? And he turns to the 4 other people who were with you. Their response is muted, but there is the occasional piece of nodding, which is interesting. He says, I see. Well, it is very fortunate that no one died. It could easily have gone the other way. And in the name of peace and prosperity between us all and harmony, I am willing to release your colleague. There's a slight start behind him from one of the other people, but he just goes. He falls into silence. I'm willing to release your colleague to you. Should there be a need for further communication, I would ask that no more than 3 people come, and that it
Yes.
be in any event of an emergency, and that it be down this road plainly. Should there need to be written communication, a mailbox will be set up partway between our 2 settlements that can be used by both of us for that sort of affair.
Yep.
Very good. I am happy that we have been able to come to this understanding. Again, there's a slight look. He kind of like looks over you all, and it's though he's seeing something that you can't see. But he doesn't explain this unless you challenge him for whatever reason. Just please remain here. Your colleague will be returned to you.
Thank you.
He leaves with a couple of his people, but other people remain there, and they just keep an eye on you. You can all make me another recon roll.
Oh my god, that's a nat 12.
Yeah. And oh, okay, all right. This time they didn't roll as well on the dice. So yes, one of the major reasons why it's been so high difficulty, they've been rolling well. But as you do that, as you're sort of looking around, generally staying alert to the situation, you think you see another one of these dug-in positions that again is concealed. This one is relatively near the east-west running road that goes through the village. It's slightly on the northern side of it, but it's definitely facing west. And you can add that to the knowledge that you already have about a southwestern facing one as well. So take from that what you will, but you have noticed it. It's not doing anything hostile, it's just there. Okay. And yes, that is correct. Towards Praska. After a few moments, Gabrielle, you note it. The priest comes in with one guard into your chambers, and he says, "I have good news, Sergeant. Your colleagues have come, and they appear to be negotiating for your release. They have offered that this place will remain unmolested, and we have agreed a form of communication should we need to talk to one another again, should assure peace. However, I am not entirely convinced that this agreement will be honored.
Good, that means you're not an idiot.
I know that if I keep you here, or I allow the men here to keep you here, it will only increase the likelihood of hostility. And so you will be released anyway. But I note your previous concerns, your previous plans. I think your friends may be amenable to your suggestions, but you should be aware that they had new people with them. I do not know where they came from. I do not know who they answer to, other than that they are likely the Major's men. They overheard the entire conversation. I therefore did not press them on any detail, nor did I tell them anything about the allegations that have been levied against the Major, and I believe your colleagues know nothing, as it seemed you knew nothing before. I just wanted to make you aware of that. I'm not a violent man. I do not wish people murdered. I just wish for hostilities to come to an end, if at all possible, and for barbarity to cease.
That being said, I think I have a way to facilitate a change of command that doesn't necessitate someone's death. We, after all, do have a flag officer you met that could easily fill in the role of a major. I think that so long as your questioning of them about the major didn't raise any red flags to her men. I mean, the major has been conglomerating several different units together, so for all anyone knows, they could be from different units anyway. But as long as it doesn't reach her that you and I have this in mind, I think you may never hear from the major again.
He looks troubled by that. It's as though you've asked him to permit a lesser evil to avoid a greater evil. He's not entirely comfortable with this. But the road to hell is paved with good intentions, I suppose, and maybe he's taking a step toward hell. He's definitely troubled, and he doesn't want to press you on the plan because he kind of thinks it's going to involve murder.
No, I specifically said he doesn't involve murder.
Yeah, you said that.
I'll say this.
Believes you.
I'll say this then. When I see his face, I'll say, let's just say I can give her a taste of her own medicine.
Feel saddened and concerned, but it is, I believe, the way forward. We'll have to notify my various associates of this development.
Do you have anyone in Praska, by the way, that I could potentially contact?
No. We had people in Praska, not part of our organization, the Sanctuary that I mentioned before, but just villagers, friends, people from village to village talk, and word from that village ceased a month or two ago.
I see. Do you ever send anyone to Seskatawa?
We used to. A lot of people fled from there during the combat, and we sent some scouts to have a look at things, but they knew not to enter the city, as we had already heard rumors that people who go there die. Mm-hmm. You are the first people that we have heard of who went that close and have come out healthy and well and alive. People have just mysteriously never come back. Did you actually enter the city proper?
No, when we figured out that the Russians that were fleeing the city had died from biological or chemical attacks, we basically left immediately. We did bring some weapons, but we had to discard them because they could have been contaminated. But the reason why I ask is because if you could decontaminate any part of the city, or if you could get the correct NBC where and go to the city, that might be a better place to facilitate a last stand than this place, if that makes any sense. In other words, if it comes to an actual battle, I'll try to lead the major to Seskatawa and not your village.
I see. Well, people will be reluctant to leave their homes, but many of them have done it once before. This war forces unfortunate necessities on us all. I am not in a position to know if the place is clear. I'm told that these agents tend to lose effect over time. I don't know how much time. And I certainly don't have a large amount of NBC or decontamination equipment. But all things can be found in Krakow.
Where's this?
We'll see. Krakow is you would know it's a major city somewhere to the south.
To the south.
You don't know you don't know if its fate, like during the war, but before the war it was a Polish city and it is to the south.
Where is it on the? I don't even see it on the map.
So yeah, I'll draw a line between Sestashire and Krakow. It'll hopefully draw your attention.
Oh wow, that's pretty far. Okay, so you said everything is at Krakow, like supplies and stuff?
Oh, have you not heard of what happens in Krakow?
Not unless you told me and I forgot.
Oh, I thought that rumor had spread all across Poland. They say, and he smiles at this, they say The streetlights are still on. They say that there is running water. They say that there is still a market, a court, a police force. They say many things. I know not how many of them are true and how many of them are just idle fantasies. But everybody calls it the free city of Krakow, and everybody agrees that it can be bought. It can be bought in Krakow.
And I'm guessing the Russians stay away from it.
It has been under the control of the Polish army and free civilian forces for some time.
Okay. I think that's why they're moving the way they are. I think they're going to come in from the northwest and try to take Krakow.
That would be
That's just a
concerning if
theory.
it is true.
Yeah.
Be very concerning. But they will be given a firm fight, I know that much.
I'm going to show him I'm going to pull out like assuming they give me all my stuff back.
Yeah, everything will be returned to you. You'll be given your weapons like at the edge of the village, but
Okay,
yeah, everything
yeah.
will be returned to you.
I'm going to pull out something, just a piece of basically jewelry.
Mhm.
And it is, if I could find its description, it is not that. It is a chain with an anarchy symbol made of charred bone. And
Okay.
at some point in America, I guess we can decide what time period or whatever, this was basically the symbol of a cult that worshipped death. I don't think he would know this, but I mean, if you want him to know it, that's fine. But I'm going to show it to him, and I'm going to say, if you see this in the mailbox, leave your village immediately. And then I'll just put it back on, and I guess that's it. That basically, I'm just telling him that means that he's going to be invaded by the Major or the Russians or something.
Yeah. He gets out a small piece of paper whilst he's looking at it, and it's fresh in his mind, and he like sketches it. And then he replicates the sketch on a couple of other pieces of paper, presumably to give it to other people. And says, "Thank you for that. I will make sure that we are alert for it. But in the meantime, I believe that your friends will start growing suspicious. The time has come to return you to them."
All right. Goodbye, and like I said, hopefully you won't have to see the Major or her men again. And hopefully your little sanctuary here can remain as it is for years to come. And I'll just turn and head out.
I'll escort you to the edge of the village. Dr. Rostergram, give me a medicine roll.
And can I also say something to him? I'm going to whisper something that only he can hear. I'm going to say, look, about the Russian bit I added earlier, I wasn't being entirely honest about it, but I do think you have at least one Russian spy in your village. And the reason why I say that is just because some of the decisions and tactics that these Polish soldiers are using seem to be more Spetsnaz, and they seem to know a lot about the Russian technology. And basically, he's gonna spin a little bit of a yarn again because he doesn't want he doesn't Gabriel does not want to have to. It's hard to describe. He's trying to sow a little bit of chaos so that to make him question things a little bit, to make him a little bit easier to manipulate in the future. But for the record, Gabriel does think there's probably spies in there, so I don't know if he's completely lying, but he does. He's just making up a reason why he thinks that, because it's mostly a hunch.
You're right to be suspicious of everyone all the time for everything.
Yes.
But since you relied on knowing the equipment, knowing the tactics, that sort of a thing, the priest will smile, and he'll even chuckle a little bit before he answers you back in a whisper, and says, "Sergeant, less than a decade ago, the Polish army was part of the Warsaw Pact, equipped by Soviets, trained by Soviets. They were essentially a wing of the Soviet army not that long ago."
Makes sense. there's just something off. But additionally, I just want to add, I saw some of your soldiers with American gear. I know things get hairy out there, but looting bodies probably not the best thing to do. Just saying. But yeah, other than that, he's just gonna head out and
he'll let that go. He knows it wasn't a looted body scenario, but he knows that's how it looks, and there's no way of going beyond that. So he'll let you go without further comment. But he notes that. Dr. Rostergram, with that role, you notice nothing unusual, and yes, Sergeant Gabriel is returned to you healthily as promised at the border. Any of you have any immediate comments, or do you want to get out of there as fast as you can?
Get out as fast as we can.
Yep. And then, the final shot, if you want, it's up to you. But I thought the final shot of after I take my weapons back from Rostigam, would be to turn to Rostigam and say, "I need a sedative that could knock out anybody." And that's it. I do have a plan for the Major.
Yep.
Wait, what's the plan? What's the plan?
Well, I don't know if y'all are going to be on board. I can't trust you yet. I can't.
There's not just that.
Gabriel commits assassination.
Hey, I said sedative.
There's also the 4 other people you've never met before, Gabrielle, who are here.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just saying I need a sedative. I need her to make a sedative. I didn't say who it's for. I'm just like, yeah, I need a syringe with a sedative in it. A really strong sedative, like immediate knockout sedative.
Yeah. I take it from. I'll take my leave from other people about when they need to go or anything along those lines. You can go about half hour, an hour longer. But you'll notice as you all get into your vehicles and start heading back towards Praska that 2 of the Major's men are in the Jeep. 2 of them just get in your M113 and stay with you. And unless you make an issue about any of this, they're not even going to bring it up. They're just going to walk in and sit in there.
What's the numbers? Like, is there no room in the other vehicle, or are they like? Is there like?
No, there's room. There's room, but there's room in both vehicles.
Yeah. Okay. Do I notice any kind of patches, rank, anything like that would be able to kind of?
Yeah, they look completely normal US kit. And some of it's a bit rough and ready, but normal. And one of them has got 3rd Battalion markings.
3rd Battalion, okay. I'll just look at him and because I'm assuming I'm in like the back. I'm not driving, so I'll just look at that guy and I'll be like, so how long have you known the Major?
I've known the Major, since I arrived in Europe. Many year ago.
Wow. Some say she gets her people through thick and thin. I'm assuming that's true because you guys are still here.
Absolutely. She always had the highest survival rate of anybody we knew. She's always looked after the troops. She's always made sure that we're fine. Couldn't ask for a better leader.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. If you come across a village you think might be harboring Russians, you just got to burn it down and let God sort it out, right?
No, there's no need to get that reckless, but we certainly can't be foolhardy. We've got to remember that this is effectively hostile country.
Right. Speaking of which, who's the second in command under the Major?
That would be somebody I have to very quickly. I made up other officers, but not that one. But I know who it would be. That would be Captain Garrison.
Captain Garrison. Oops, wrong emoji there. Captain Garrison. You say Captain Garrison?
Captain Garrison. Yes.
Okay. I see. And what kind of guy is he? Is he a survive at all costs, just like the Major and you apparently?
Oh, Captain Garrison's a very hardy fella. He's been with the Major a long time. He was her sergeant when she was a junior lieutenant.
Ah, so he got a field promotion to officer.
He did indeed.
Of course.
Most capable man.
Nice. He's just in his head. He's like, "That's 2 people that have to go." So he's like, "All right." And oh, by the way, how many of 3rd Battalion are left? I assume in real life a battalion's like 1,000 people, maybe 500. So, considering they have 300 people, was it 300 or 600? They have. I think it was 300.
300.
Yeah, so they might not have that
You
many.
could see and easily detect.
Yeah, how many's left in your battalion?
Everybody's taken heavy casualties. He says, "Oh, not enough," but that's true everywhere. We got off a lot lighter than most places. There's, I'd say there's a little over 200, maybe a little shy of 300 of the original battalion left, and then we picked up quite a few hangers-on from various other NATO armies.
So most
nearby units.
Most of the Praska base is composed of the original 3rd Battalion. That's interesting.
Majors, look, in various fights that have gone by, units get broken up, people retreat down the wrong road, people get separated.
Yeah.
Nuclear fields cause people to move around, and
Right.
I'm not going to pretend we haven't lost some people along those lines, but the Major's been very good at keeping us together whenever we've been lost into a retreat or anything like that.
Oh, so you did have to retreat. I thought she was all about. Does she retreat too often, or does she? You would say she doesn't retreat enough. I mean, you guys have survived a lot, so that sounds like you retreat a lot.
Oh, that woman is a very sensible woman. She knows when she can win a fight. She knows when she has to back down. She ain't one to ask her troops to die for a hopeless cause. She'll fight if there's a purpose in fighting, but if there's no purpose and she knows she's gonna lose, why would we fight?
Exactly, and if you find a couple Polish people just hanging out and you need to conscript them into your services, you can do that because we're here to help, right?
Absolutely, and they understand. I mean, we don't give them a gun or
Well,
anything like that. But, yeah, it's like they understand, but it's not conscription. It's voluntary. They
really?
they help us. Absolutely. They help us. They cook our meals, make sure that our things are okay, help supply us, and in exchange, they are safe and protected.
Right. Yeah, man, sounds a lot like the mafia in the 20s. Okay, so yeah, no, that's great. That's definitely good. I mean, the price for you guys protecting them is definitely them giving you a lot of stuff and serving you with whatever you need. That's definitely fair, I think. Right? I mean, am I wrong? I'm just looking around
You
at
make
everyone.
it sound. Yeah.
Like-
Actually, we'll take that as possible. He does have an answer, but how are other people reacting to this conversation?
He.
Is the Commodore driving?
Yeah.
Commodore's probably driving, but you can probably hear
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm probably sitting right behind the driver's seat. I want to stay close to my friends. I don't want to be with these two by myself.
Basically, the Commodore's like, don't get any funny ideas.
Oh, you say that out loud?
Yeah.
I'm just like, no, I'm just admiring the Major's reputation and record. I mean, that's a crazy amount of success that she's had, and look at us. The 6th is gone, and we're just basically cobbled together. Now we're part of the Major's unit. I'm just hoping that I just wanted to get to know her, and maybe, I mean, you're a Commodore. Why don't you technically you outrank her? You could definitely sit in on some of her dinners and see if maybe she can help you start your own unit or something.
Who knows?
Indeed, who does?
You got it right about that, Sergeant. When you talk about her record and her unit, and yeah, she's always helped out NATO because we've always got to stick together. But
right.
With the Major, once you're one of hers, once you're one of the team, she will go through hell for you.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's just, when we went to Saskatchewan, there was like a small group of Polish there, and they said that there were some people that was kind of like burning down their villages and stuff, but it's probably not the major. I mean, definitely not the major. She wouldn't steal stuff that's not, that's not hers.
Absolutely not. No, she doesn't steal anything. That is not what happens.
It's voluntary, as you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, I mean, that was probably the Russians. Give me either a recon or a persuasion roll, your choice.
Definitely persuasion. Let's see.
Yeah. If you do look in the review, look at the, the thing.
The thing, I mean.
Yeah, the glass thing that you can easily see in the back.
Yeah.
Oh,
the back
the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Okay. An APC does not have
thing.
one of those.
Get it! Basically,
They're on their
if
rearview
you
mirrors. Carry on.
basically, you get the impression from the Commodore that what the heck is going on?
Well, I'm trying to subtly let you guys know what's going on by stating it without stating it. I don't know if y'all pick up on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's trying to I think he's well, first of all, Gabriel failed in that persuasion roll, but he's definitely trying to, like, once he like after the first 5 seconds of talking to them, he kind of figured them out, the other guys. So now he's trying to lay out everything to his group in a subtle way, to where they, the other two don't really know that he's doing it.
Okay. Well, that roll was to see if you picked up on something.
Mm-hmm.
You do not pick up on something.
That's fine.
So yeah, the conversation continues. It says, "These Poles, they've been saying that she's been stealing things, and they've been saying that to you."
Said a brown-haired lady. That could be literally any brown-haired lady in the NATO army. I'm just saying that it's probably just a case of mistaken identity, or I mean, they could be making stuff up. I don't know. It's over in that irradiated city, Seska Tower. I mean, maybe we could just take a bigger group of soldiers over there and check it out. Maybe we have to wear some NBC. Obviously, it's irradiated, but yeah, and obviously there's that chemical or biological stuff. But I think we didn't include that in the report because it seemed like they were kind of down on their luck. It was just a couple of guys that were just trying to get by, and we didn't want to hassle them with a bunch of questions. But they did mention it, so I had to bring it up.
Yeah, well, I understand, but you need to remember that quite a few of the Poles, they don't like us because they don't like anybody being in their country. They ain't suitably appreciative of the things that we've been doing for them, and some of them just plain nasty. And everybody's got their own game these days. They're probably trying to split apart the Major's men. They're probably just lying to you.
No.
And hoping to sow some seeds of discontent. You got to put that out, and you got to remember who your friends are, Sarge.
Yeah, I mean, whose side would you rather be on? The NATO military or a couple of Polish villagers? Like, come on, it's not even a question.
It's not just that, although it always pays to be on the winning side, but it's about who's looked after you. The Major's looked after us. We owe her. It's about loyalty. It's about integrity. We are a team.
I have a question.
We don't betray our own.
Of course not. You definitely would never do that. But why haven't, the Sixth has fallen apart, nukes have fallen, everything's fallen apart. Why haven't the Sixth, or why haven't the 3rd Battalion just kind of, got up and left and went to survive somewhere else, or went back home? Or I mean, I'm sure you got families you want to get back to.
Yeah, I remember that time, and I remember the day we all discussed it. It was a big decision. And the Major, she didn't want to impose nothing on us, because she knows that the old military is, well, her rank commands a lot of respect, but she ain't exactly about to invoke the delegated powers of the office of the president now, is she?
Right.
Not these days. Well, that works a little different. We follow her because she's good, and she's good because she's a Major. We call her that out of respect, but she didn't impose no command on us. And the time came to decide whether or not we was all going to try and move somewhere else, stay here, go. She summoned everybody up for a big old meeting, save for them people on pickets, and she got their opinions later, talked to them real personal like. got everybody together, and she put the options on the table. And they were to stay where we were, to try and fight north, to get to the sea and maybe get a boat back to the United States, to head west into Germany, try heading for the US that way. And there was a lot of talking. Quite a lot of us wanted to risk everything to try and get back. Some people left, and she didn't force anyone to stay who didn't want to, but you eventually managed to persuade us, not order us, that our best chance was to stay here, because ain't nowhere better than here. The next place is as bad as this one. And we still have friends here, we still had a position to make the best of it where we were. And then maybe if the world gets sorted out 10, 20 years from now, government start to reassert, then we can head back to the United States, see our families. But we can't see our families if we're dead. And, well, she said the best way for us to all survive was just to stay around here and tough it out and make the best we can here. I see Rostogram has got something.
This discussion of just kind of digging in until the world's a better place. She will look at the speaker and say, what does the Major know about Sanctuary?
Sanctuary? Well, I mean, I don't know what the Major knows. She knows more than I do. I'm just a simple private. She knows things that's beyond us.
Okay, then what do you know of Sanctuary?
I just hear a rumor. That's it. Apparently, there's a bunch of people who think that they're going to be able to get everybody together, and it's well, it reminds me of the talk about those people from years ago. Those people who were sort of thought that the world could all live in peace. It would be wonderful if that were true, but there's always somebody who's going to do you in, and you ain't necessarily got to go hit them first, but you got to be ready for them to hit you, and I'm just not sure those Sanctuary boys are going to be doing that. Besides, we never met any of them. All we hear is a person who met one, who maybe knew a guy who saw someone. It's all so up in the air and vague.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the chat. I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit, get to know the Major, get to know you guys. After all, we're going to be working together for a really long time, so that's all I was doing there. I think, and this is me out of character, I think after that, I think he's going to kind of, unless they have questions or if they want to say something, he's pretty much going to remain quiet for the rest of the ride.
Fine. And they're not going to initiate conversation, and they're just sort of sitting back watching, keeping an eye on things. Does anybody else want to ask them any questions or have a bit of a chat?
Yeah, he's not going to be questioning him. He's going to continue driving, and he's thinking, oh, I should definitely talk to the Major a bit more about herself.
Okay. All right. Well, the rest of your journey will pass without incident, and you will be waved into the base. Approaching from this angle, you will drive past some dug-in positions, two dug-in M60s that you saw before, but they're there. You drive in and you go into the little sort of improvised motor pool that was in the yard of some building, some old industrial building, and be led out. And Lieutenant Nichols, or Nixon, that you met before, will be waiting for you and say, I understand that you just all came from a rather unfortunate encounter. First of all, Sergeant, are you quite well?
Oh yeah, no, I'm great. This is flesh wound. I'm perfectly fine. Although I would like to thank the Major personally for sending this delegation to get me. I'm just so pleased that I was rescued by these great people. I must thank her personally.
He should go to the medical tent immediately.
I'm fine.
Just
I
to double
swear.
check.
I'm fine.
Pointing to his two legs.
I can take him there.
Yeah, we'll go. It's and then we'll go talk to the major. I just wanted to say thank you. That's all.
Yes, she's. You've only been with us for a very short amount of time,
Right.
but the major values her people.
Exactly. And did they? You said they took our weapons at the gate like last time, or no?
Actually, this time they've taken away like most of your weapons, but if you've got something small like a pistol, you've been allowed to keep that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm keeping my pistol, my knife, and that I'll just leave the rifle wherever they want it, and then I'll go. I guess I'll go to the medical tent. There's nothing to do there except get the sedative serum or whatever. But
You go to the medical tent. We can come back to you in a moment.
I was gonna say, if you're letting Rastergram take you, she
Yeah.
has questions for you.
Oh,
but
that's
we can come
perfectly
back to
fine.
that.
Yeah, I understand.
If you want to go that way, nobody will stop you. We can do that little bit first. You have that conversation, and we'll turn to the others.
Okay. Yeah, he's not gonna say anything to Rostergram immediately.
She's just gonna say, Gabriel, like, you didn't trust anyone in that village yesterday, and now you were questioning. And she's keeping her voice low, as like even if they're walking there, she's keeping her voice low. She's like, "What happened?"
Well, first of all, I don't trust anybody. I don't even trust you. Second of all, apparently, and yeah, he's looking around. Like if he sees someone walk out of a bar drunk, 2 blocks away, he's gonna lower his voice. Like it doesn't matter. He's looking up, he's looking down, everywhere. But he's doing it in a way that's not super suspicious. It's kind of like casually looking around. But he's gonna say, in a whispered, kind of hushed voice. After that, he's gonna say, but it seems that the reason why the major's survival rate is so high is because they take over villages apparently and loot them and use their stuff and kidnap people. And again, this is some preacher guys telling me this, so I don't really care to believe them per se. But it suits my end game as well, which is to get rid of the major anyway. So I'm gonna do that, and you're gonna help me.
Because we did see another snipe. Like, I don't know. Okay, out of character, out of game. Gabriel, did he see that third sniper blind, or was that just the group? Okay,
No, it's just the main party. Also, I'll point out that the one at the edge of the village, well, both of the ones at the edge of the village, you've managed to work out from your observations that they're a bit larger than sniper blinds. This is heading towards machine gun post, small team, that kind of affair.
Okay. Because Crispy seems to keep putting up defenses against every major city or faction that's nearby.
Well, except the north, which is weird because that's where the Russian front is. That's also where the other NATO unit is stationed at Trabonsky or whatever it's called. So it seems like they're selective about where they're defending from. If it was me, I'd surround the place or have the defenses for the north because that's where the Russians are. But it seems like they're equally as concerned about NATO as they are with, and I get it. Trust me. I know when no matter what country you're from, no matter what military you're a part of, people do bad things. I'm sure there have been NATO forces that have looted, killed, raped, enslaved. I'm sure that's happened. But for a major to basically use her entire unit, by the way, of the 300 people that she has under her control right now, most of them are her unit. It's not like she grabbed a bunch of people from different places. She grabbed maybe like 20 people from different places, and then most of them.
She grabbed maybe like 100 people from other places,
so
but
2/3.
Yeah.
At least 2/3 are her. Like, how do you survive that well unless you're doing something wrong? I'm planning, and he's gonna once again look around, to sedate her and her captain. I don't care about him. He can fuck off for all I care afterwards, but I don't need him getting in the way. And then when she's awake, she's going to find herself maybe strapped to a chair. And I'm going to ask her, and if she denies it or tries to justify it, I'll probably kill her. And then I'll let the Commodore take over. How's that?
Well, The Commodore has made it very clear that I'm going to probably be court-martialed for
Nah,
this
you'll be
last
fine.
outing I had with
Trust
you.
me. If I
So
don't
what
get
do-
court-martialed, you'll be fine. You're good. There is no such thing as a court-martial anymore. What are they gonna do? Make us stand before the Commodore and the Major and say, "Why did you do this?" Blah blah blah, and then we're just gonna say, "Well, because it was suspicious as hell." And yeah, they're not gonna do anything. They need every rifleman that they could possibly have, and they're not gonna court-martial us. But that being said, if they find out what I'm planning, then they might do something then. But you know, I think ultimately the Major's the bigger problem in this sphere, probably equal to the Russians. Um, so we'll just ask questions just like we did on the truck, except we'll be more direct, and then if we don't like the answers, we'll deal with it. But the Commodore outranks her anyway, and once she's gone, once her XO is out of the way, the Commodore should be a shoe-in for taking over. Do you disagree?
Master Yam does not look very happy about this, but she's kind of thinking, well, she's thinking kind of thoughts that probably she does not need to be telling you.
Fair
But
enough.
what she'll say instead is just that, or she'll go, well, I guess if you need a serum, then I better be the one that makes it, because if you make it, you might actually kill her.
Yeah, or stab myself with a needle and kill myself. But on accident, of course. But I mean, if you're so concerned about doing the wrong thing or going against orders, then you shouldn't be nowhere near this, because if they find out, I'd rather me be on the chopping block than you. But if you don't give me the serum, I'll probably have to shoot her. So I'd rather at least question her first before I put a bullet in her head. So I think the serum is the best way.
Again, she has a different response to that. She's not going to say it.
That's fine.
Just kind of, she's like, I guess I'm going with you again to make sure that things don't fall
apart
again.
even more than they are now. By the way, can you make a truth serum as well, or is that beyond your capability? I know you're a doctor, but I don't know how well you are at like mixing chemicals and stuff.
I don't know.
Really, we just need
I'm not sure that exists. I don't know. I don't know if that's an urban myth or if it's real.
We just need to make her loopy enough. I mean, the sedative might do it. We just need to make her loopy enough to where telling the truth for her is the best way out of the situation she's in. Be tied to a chair, loopy as hell, having some random guy interrogate you, thinking you have a mole inside that's kidnapped you. Like, I have a feeling she's probably going to confess at least something. If not, if she's completely innocent and I'm wrong, I'll just apologize and go about my day. But yeah, that's his plan, basically, to just get it to where she's not the one holding the upper hand, or with the upper hand, because she has been for a long time. So I think this will be a change of pace for her. She might not know how to react except for tell the truth.
I should point out that unless you want to do something like stand in a dark alleyway, like you're reaching the medical tent now and there are staff around there, so unless you want to do something suspicious.
We're good.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll pan the camera back to the Commodore and the Lieutenant, who I think the Commodore mentioned they wanted to go and talk to the Major immediately. And Lieutenant Nichols is happy to take you to her. He's sure you have information. And so you're led back into the same room that you were before, which is clearly her sort of improvised command center. There are maps, there are radios, etc. There are guards, standing outside. Entering the tent, you're asked to surrender your personal weapons as well. Actually, it's not a tent; it's a room in a house. But you're asked to surrender your weapons. And assuming you do that, she will be there at the map table. There are various staff members all around her attending to tasks, but she certainly has her attention on you and says, Commodore, Lieutenant, I'm glad to see you both back. Please, tell me what occurred.
We're gonna have to leave the village alone because of our wonderful sergeant's actions. And they're setting up a mailbox so we can communicate between ourselves. If we ever do delegating between the village, we are only supposed to send 3 people. They requested that.
He was visibly disappointed by this. And he says, "Are we allowed to pass through the village?"
No.
"We must reach Sejtashawa, and we are very low on supplies. We need more supplies to move. I don't think we're going to be able to muster together enough to take the long route all the way to the south. If we're to get where we're going to set up our defenses, we have to go through that village."
If we can send 3 people up ahead and ask if we can go through the village, I think the priest will definitely he'll let us. If you give him warning, I think he'll allow it.
Out of character, are you spinning a yarn? Does your character genuinely believe that?
Yes, he generally believes it.
Okay. So the major sort of gives a slight sort of, I'm thinking about this, squint, and says, "What did you discover about the nature of the village? Its supplies, its size, its population? Your man was captured on the inside. He presumably has some inside information. What about the troops and the defenses there?"
Basically, there are. It seems like they're not defending against the Russians. They're more facing south.
I can see that. I see. That is an interesting thing for them to be doing, and she turns to the rest of the people who joined you, her men, and say, "Is that the opinion of you all? Did you see anything?" "Well, we did see, ma'am, some more defenses facing in our direction."
Yeah.
I see. Most concerning. And how many men did you see there? And that's clearly a question asked you all, but the player characters get to answer first.
There could be more than we actually seen on the surface, because there's too many houses to actually be occupied by a few people.
You say on the surface, you think they have tunnels?
I think so. The only way.
They have tunnels. They have very solid prepared defenses. Do you have anything to add to that?
I think if we can talk to the priest, he'll probably be the most I think he'll be willing to negotiate in a way where we can bypass, because he wouldn't want any bloodshed or people occupying his city, town.
See. And how many people do you think? You said you think there are more people below ground. How many people do you think there are in this village? A couple dozen? A couple hundred? 1,000?
I don't know.
"Lieutenant," she says, turning to Lieutenant Soberslow, momentarily forgetting to address the lieutenant in the British version rather than the American version, and says, "Do you have anything to add to this? Did you see anything? What are your insights?"
There is another sniper post.
Another sniper post. Where was this?
Can you remind me where it was? Because you mentioned about a third sniper blind.
Right, yeah. So far you found 3. You found the one up in the northern wood line, one on the southwest corner of the village, and one facing westward, like down the road, the approach road to the village.
The one that I found was facing quite westwards, approximately down onto the road itself.
I see. And she's sort of tapping the table, like she's slightly dissatisfied with this news. You can see cogs turning in her brain. And how large a population do you think they have, Lieutenant?
Not much, to be frank.
About armed men, militia, soldiers.
But I could have gathered there was only one, though. It was most likely just a young man.
Taps again the table. Because these things are incongruous, like that many dug-in defenses, one or two people with guns. It's like those don't match up. So yeah, she really, really doesn't like what she's being told. She's not getting angry; she just doesn't like the information. I see. And you have no indication of the amount of supplies that they have.
And
Nope.
No, unfortunately, Major.
Were you able to reach Sesdashala?
Yes, but the problem is, we didn't go into the village because we saw the convoy of Russian soldiers and civilians had tried to leave. Plus, they were contaminated with radiation and a virus.
How fresh did the bodies seem?
He looks to the lieutenant. How long do you think the bodies were there for?
Most likely was for the. DM, how long has it was it since we discovered it?
You discovered it like a day ago, but the bodies were, because you did a sort of like an inspection on them to see if you could work out the chemical agent, and the reason why you couldn't is because they were already too rotten for you to tell.
They were too rotten to truly tell, but they're pretty much in an advanced stage of decomposition when we've discovered them.
So the agents may have dispersed, but we don't know.
Yeah. We don't know how bad it is in the city, and the rumors followed what we found may suggest that the virus is still in the city.
She nods and says, well, it is well known, both to myself and many other people who know anything about any military activity in this area across the past couple of years, that has been a major supply center at various points in time. And if it was hastily evacuated, as we believe it is going to have a great amount of supplies in it. That is our hope. It is also a key infrastructure juncture. Now, so far, nobody's taken it, and I believe it's because of these nuclear attacks and the chemical agents that you're talking about. But if those have dispersed, the first group of people who work that out and rush in there might get a treasure trove. And even if there is nothing in there, it is one of the most defensible locations around. We, if it is safe to enter, must be first. As a result of which, I think we need to accelerate our plan. Now, we do not have full NBC equipment to spare. We barely have respirators. We don't have enough for all the men. If that area is saturated, I cannot equip you. You are going to have to source that equipment yourself and find out. I also must remind you of your original mission, which was to scout the resource and population situations and the defenses of all the villages in this area. Is there perhaps some other source of equipment that you might be aware of?
No. Not at this present time.
She sighs and sort of steeples her fingers.
Unless we be able to talk to some of the civilians who are willing to open up and talk to us, I don't think,
You cannot, if we cannot go through Crespes. See, the only way for you is to loop round the other way, go through Kluxborg, down to a pole, start scouting out the villages, see if you can find populations, see if you can find resources, because we still need resources to move. We cannot stay here and we cannot move. We need fuel. As a minimum, we need fuel, but as many other basic supplies as is possible will be useful. And it must be gained by hook or by crook, because if we stay here for too long, the Russians will come for us. You told me about the Spetsnaz scouts. They know we're here. We must not give them the opportunity to plan an attack. We must move soon. You must get us that fuel. NATO soldiers may well die if you do not get it. Now, I encourage you to find some other stash of this NBC equipment necessary to investigate the area. And, well, there is one place, two places actually, that you may be able to obtain it, but I am not confident about either of them. The first is to see if our friends up north of Kamiliesk in Protynial-Trubetsky have some. That's the last we heard of NATO troops being in that area, but that was months ago. I don't know if they're still there. I don't know if they're healthy. I don't know. And I see this message, so I'll wrap up the session soon. The second, I like even less. I hear rumors. I hear reports. Krakow. And that anything can be purchased there. If you can get something to trade, you may be able to purchase what you need in Krakow. But you got to get something to trade first. So you're going to have to scavenge or obtain, by any means that you feel appropriate, the necessary supplies. Barter.
If we can go through the proper decontamination, and if the virus has dissipated, as I think it is, on the outside, we may be able to enter the city. Because if the bodies have been there for months, the virus should have dissipated.
Well, I'll leave that decision to you. Given you your task, it's up to you how to carry it out, Commodore, but I will provide what support I can, but our support is very limited. Our supply situation is not as bad as many around us, but it is growing worse by the day.
You asked one of the soldiers to run over to speak to get Greaves and the doctor to get the gear together for decontamination.
Mm-hmm. You've all tested negative. They're not going to decontaminate you. And as for decontaminating the city, they don't have the kit.
Okay. He says, Major, we'll go into the city and see how the situation is. And do you have any things for like detecting any viruses or anything like that?
No, we don't. I'll give you some extra drugs, but we're out of detection equipment. If you want suits, if you want detection equipment other than the radiometer I already gave you, you need to get it yourself from somewhere else, I'm afraid.
Okay, we'll go and suss out the city itself. There's probably supplies down there. I know there's going to be really good supplies because just on the outskirts we were able to find a cache of weapons supplies.
Then the rumors are true. That is good. That is encouraging.
Yes.
That place may be our hope.
So, if you can send he goes over to the map next to her,
mm-hmm.
and he marks on the map, if you can send a unit to decontaminate that stuff from radiation, you can have some more gear.
I have some people check it out, but the prize is the city itself. Now, unfortunately,
Yes.
I do have to go and tend to some other affairs. If there's nothing pressing, then you're welcome to stock back up on food and water and head out as soon as you are able.
Yep. He goes he'll let her go. He goes to speak to Reeves and the doctor.
If you have time, you can do that scene now. If people need to go, then we can bring it to an end here. But if you do have time for that chat, then by all means do it now.
I not really. I mean, it depends how long it's gonna take. But I thought we were gonna be done 30 minutes ago. So, like I said, I don't know how long it's gonna take. But if it was like 5 minutes, I could do it. But it, it keeps going and going. So I don't want to drag it out anymore.
Of course.
Yeah. As far as like my, hey Nostra, as far as my, the thing I want to do is just set up. Kind of where are we timeline wise for the next session? So is it going to start the next day? Is it going to start 5 minutes from now? Is it going to start a week from now?
If for whatever reason this is the end of it, etc., and you want to leave tomorrow, then it'll start tomorrow. Effectively, it'll start for whenever you are ready to go, unless there is some major thing in between that would require actually being done in a session, like
there is a major thing.
Yeah, like assaulting the major needs to be done in a session.
Yeah.
So if you want to wait until then and essentially try and do that before you're ready to go, then fair enough. In that case, we can say that the next session will start a couple of hours from now when you're discharged from the hospital, or whenever you're ready to initiate your plan.
All right.
Basically, the Commodore will go and see us.
Okay.
And make sure no one actually is going to be around you two, and go, what the heck is going on with you?
Oh, he's going to straight up tell you, just like he told the doctor, that the village priest told us that she's been looting and enslaving people all over the place. But he's gonna make sure that there's nobody around when he says that. And he's gonna say, "I just want to talk to her alone and see if that's." As you could tell on the truck, I was able to get some information from those guys without them even knowing. So I could just talk to her and get some. And if she's innocent, then we'll just go about our business and it'll be fine. But I just need like 5 minutes of her time. That's all.
One thing that will happen before you're discharged from the medical tent, and if you want to say this is where we begin the next session, fine, we'll leave it there. Or if you want to say, oh no, this isn't the right opportunity, you can gloss it.
Guys, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Of course. The session is ending.
Basically...
hang on. Whilst you're still in the hospital, before you're discharged, and therefore surrounded by medical personnel, is the major will come up and say, I hear you were wounded. Are you okay?
Oh, okay. We'll do that next time
for assisting. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, I can do something there with that next session, even with the Commodore and the Doctor and other people around. That's fine. As long as
Dalton comes back, who knows what's going to happen next game?
Well, he's gonna
he's gonna
be mad.
the Commodore says, I might have an idea.
Okay, well, we'll go with that idea.
We'll deal with that next session, because you probably won't have an opportunity to discuss it before the major talks.
Which would be fine. Because, we'll figure it out. All right.
Excellent. Well, brings things to an end. If anybody wants to ask me any questions or anything.